Oh, it's a bit wobbly like that, so it's not good. Let's try that. Oh my word, there's 9 people on board. Morning, chaps. Now then, let me just get set up. Let me know if the audio is good. Now then. Oh. Ha-ha! We're on. Right, morning crew, who have we got? We've got Roger is in the house. Glutton for punishment. How many hours did you do last week? Glad you're home, mate. Thanks, Roger. Yes. The ferry arrived a little bit early into Wellington, which was great. I had a little pickup to do in just down the road, and then I headed north. I got home last night after calling in at Taupo to refuel and pick up some tea. I got home just before 9 p.m, which was bloody good actually. Ooh, air compressor. I'm just going to turn that off. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, 9 o'clock. I envisaged about midnight, to be honest, 11 p.m. to midnight. So it wasn't too bad. I was watching the roads and the temperature, and there was only 1 or 2 places where there was potential ice on the road, which slowed me down a bit. Other than that, I got the hammer down and caught up a bit of time, which was nice. But going on from your original question, Roger, I covered 3,200 kilometers from when I left home to when I got back, which, given an average speed of about 80 k's an hour, because some of the sections, some of the driving was in thick fog and very, very icy conditions. I left at 4 a.m. yesterday morning from Hammer Springs. I would say, you know, an average speed of about 80 k's an hour is about 35 hours of drive time to achieve that, approximately. And then with all the additional work and, you know, admin time and other bits and pieces and meetings and things and, you know, on-site work, I reckon about 72 hours in 6.5 days, which I'm feeling it today. But it's nice just to take the morning easy and have a chat with you guys, to be honest. Kill Switch BB, woohoo! Hiya, fella. Good morning, matey. How are you? Good to have you on board, Kill Switch. Brandon, good morning, Andy. Good morning, Brandon. Good morning to you too. Kill Switch, audio is fine. That's excellent. We're still using the S20, the new phone, for the live stream camera, and I'm very, very pleased with it. It's awesome. Cars exposed. Oh, there you are. Yes, sorry, I was slightly delayed. I was having a quick chat with Mrs. Mechanic before I went live. Timothy Hatcher. Hi, Andy. I'm from the UK. Love all your videos. Well, thank you very much, Timothy. I do appreciate that. There will be more proper videos coming soon. Unfortunately, I've had to sort of stick with the live streams as really the only contact other than social media. You know, Instagram and Facebook posts and bits and pieces over the last couple of weeks, because I have been ridiculously busy, unfortunately. But that's, you know, I'm getting ahead. I've got now today and tomorrow and Tuesday, because I'm not working Monday or Tuesday because, you know, I worked Sunday and Queen's birthday. Sorry, Queenie. I worked on the Monday as well, obviously, while I was away. So I can get caught up and then hopefully we can get back to normal. Now then, Ron Warren. Hi from Essex, England. Hearing you loud and clear. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate that. And good morning to you, Ron. Duke of the Dales, back on site. Morning, Duke of the Dales. Looking forward to hearing about your week's adventure. Yeah, I can cover that. That's all right. We'll go through that as well. And I've got something to show you, which I think I'll do first and get some kind of feedback on what you think it is. Hence the thumbnail for the video. Kill Switch, Ron Warren. I'm in Essex too. Wow, look at that. You see, you guys could meet up at the pub and have a pint and discuss all the mistakes that I make in some of my videos. Ron, Thurrock, near River Thames, UK. Wow. Kill Switch, Onga. Right. Okay, we've caught up with the comments and slurp of coffee before it gets cold. Now, I was when I was in Wellington on Monday morning, I had a couple of hours to kill before the ferry went. There wasn't a morning ferry, there was only a lunchtime and an evening ferry, so I couldn't get the morning one, so I took the lunchtime one. Give me a couple of hours free. And often when that happens, I jump onto Trade Me, which is a bit like eBay here in New Zealand, and I look around for weird and wonderful stuff that's in the area that I'm at, that's cheap and maybe of some kind of interest or just intrigues me. And I picked this up. I picked it up yesterday on my way back. It's really heavy. Oh, the guy said it weighs about 12 kilograms, so I thought, well, it must be a transformer of some kind. And if I can hold it up for you, this is it. It's got one socket and one plug. And the weird thing is, the wire for the plug obviously comes out the back of the box. And he did put some, well, he didn't put any description on there at all. All it had, I could make out from the pictures, is that sticker there. Look, I'll try and hold it for you for a few seconds so you can see what's going on being a live stream. You can't pause it, I don't think. So there you go. And so it's obviously mains powered. It's 240 volt AC input, and it says on the sticker, now that I've got it, I can read it properly. And the output, well, it says input 230 volts, but you know, give or take. And the output is also 230 volts AC, and it says 50 CPS, which is 50 cycles per second. So 50 hertz, which is what we have here in New Zealand. And it also says on here, it's got a serial number and bits and pieces. It's got a rating of 1 kVA or 4.4 amps. And it says it's not splash proof, so you can't use it outside if it's raining. The transformer is fitted with a fuse and a cutout as a protector against overload. To reset, disconnect the mains, allow it to cool, remove the lid. So there's on the side, oh golly, there's a couple of screws either side. Remove the lid and press down a red button. So inside the box is a red button. So I think a bit later on in the live stream, we'll have a look inside. I'll take the lid off and we'll have a look, because obviously it's called an isolating transformer. So you've got, you know, your input and you've got an output. But my question to you is, it was manufactured by Apex Electrical Engineering in Upper Hutt. So this is a New Zealand made component. So again, that was something else that intrigued me, because, you know, it's different. So my question to you is, have you got any idea why this exists? Why would you want an isolating transformer? Tell me. I don't know. Let's find out. Oh my word. Right. Robert Hickey. Those are handy when working on an old radio that has a live chassis. Okay. Well, still, I'm not a radio guy, so would it reduce interference? Is that what you're saying to the radio? But tell me what the reason is why you would need to use it with a radio. What's the benefit? And also, a radio at 4.4 amps. It must obviously transmit as well as receive. Roger Heat's back from before you could get RCD. So it's a safety thing, right? Jim K. Jim K has sent me what do they call it? It's like a monetary Snapchat thing, a monetary. Oh, I keep forgetting the name of them. But anyway, Jim sent me $1.99. Thank you very much, Jim. I will put that towards next week's coffee. Really appreciate that. Now then, T-Week. Safety, older version of an RCD. Well, you guys obviously know your stuff. You know a lot more than I do. What I was thinking it might be when I saw it was, I did have a similar device back in the UK. You can get like a yellow box for using on building sites where you can plug in your 240 volt AC input, and it's a reduction transformer, and it gives you 110 volt, which is what they use for power tools. In fact, I have one. I brought one with me. Hang on, I'll show you. Bear with me. Where could it be? here we go. Now, we had this, and we had the transformer, but I didn't bring the transformer with me, so this is actually totally useless to me at the moment. For down at the off-road centre, sometimes we had to change tyres and wheels and stuff really quick, and we had a generator down there, so we had 240-volt AC. So I bought one of these. Now this is, can I read the label? Yes, I can. There you are, look. That's what that is. Okay, and this should be 110 volts. Does it say that? It's a 3.8 amps, 400 watt. Hertz, yes, 50 to 60 hertz. Well, you'll have to just believe me. It is 110 volt, and it comes with a different kind of plug. And this used to go in the other side of the transformer, and then we could use this quite safely and comply to health and safety requirements, because we weren't allowed to use, obviously it's a bit dangerous using 240 volt out in the rain and stuff, you know, where it was damp conditions. So I thought, maybe it's something like that, but it confused me as to why your input was exactly the same as the output, and that was my question to you guys. And it sounds to me like you've already answered the question. You're on it, honestly. Robert Hickey, no, so you don't get a shock. Excellent. I like that. So if I'm doing dodgy stuff in the workshop where, for example, you know, when I was running that drill in the lathe to show that the brushes were worn out, and then we got that sudden flash, I suppose if I was running that drill through this, that might have been beneficial and more safe to do the experiment, but this only kicks out 4.4 amps, whereas on this picoscope, we saw that it pulled initial startup, went up to 17 or whatever it is amps, and then when it popped, we saw the current flow slowly climb up, and then it finally popped. So it probably would have overloaded this and tripped the little trigger switch, the overload switch inside, before that drill finally failed. Or it might have even tripped it when it first fired the drill up. So it may not have worked for that particular experiment given the current flow. Go Maman. You have no connection to Earth with this transformer. No, you don't, because, well, even the plug that goes into the mains doesn't have an Earth terminal, does it? Okay, Dave Anderson, for safety, isolation from the power mains. Okay, I think we're all along the same lines there. I appreciate that. Duke of the Dales, it's a transformer for a model railway. Isolate supply while you put the train back on the track. Okay, maybe. I don't know. You guys know? I have no idea, but that sort of makes sense. It's a hell of a thing, though, isn't it, for a model railway? Dave Anderson, primary winding side of the transformer goes to power mains, secondary goes to whatever you're working on. Yep, cool. HFTG, I can't read that. Sorry, but probably says good morning, so good morning to you, HFTG. Robert Stokesley, 1998 Chevrolet pickup 250 Vortec. Do you know any way to bypass pass lock system to get this motor starting? I don't. I've never had any exposure to those American vehicles, unfortunately. The guy to ask will be Eric O, or possibly Keith from New Level Auto. So do get hold of them and ask them the same question. I mean, maybe even Ivan could help, but I have no experience with working on those vehicles, so I just can't comment. Sorry. Al Elish just joined in. Good morning, Al. Good to have you on board. Robert Hickey, open up the transformer and see if there is an unusual tap on the secondary, perhaps for export to the US. You could then produce 120 volts. It would still be 50 hertz, of course, which means I could run that. Not that I need to do, because I've got all my, you know, I use rechargeable stuff now, and I've still got my original air tools as well. So we will open the lid. Bear with me. We'll do that in a minute. Duke of the Dales, I was having a laugh. Okay, well, probably. You could be right. You could use it for that. I don't know. Who knows? Machine NZ. Hey, Andy, morning from New Plymouth. Good morning, Machine NZ, and good morning, New Plymouth, in fact. I haven't been to New Plymouth for quite some time, and I am overdue a trip there. The dealer that I go and visit, David is his name, a real nice chap. He took over his business, or bought the motorcycle shop a couple of years ago, and he's really making some good headway in turning the business around. He's got lots of good customers now as well, and real nice chap to work with. Do enjoy it. Enjoy seeing him. Jim Haynes, Robert Stokesley, you should be able to get a Riemann pass lock box if it has failed for about $60 on eBay, and they have worked okay for me in the past, and getting keys to learn box is not hard. There you go. You see, thanks, Jim. That's what we call in the educational industry. When I used to work at Unitech, that's called collaboration, and that is exactly what social media is all about for us techs. Betsy 387. Hi, Andy. Good morning, Betsy. How are you? Right. A bit more coffee. Okay, we're going to need a flat screwdriver. Let's take a look inside and see what's going on. Oh, right, let's see if we can get this camera just moved down a bit so you can see. There we go, look. How's that? A live stream without Andy in it. Okay. I wonder if it's oil cooled. If it is, then there must be a seal on this lid, but I don't know. Remember one of my, I had a really old stick welder, and that was oil cooled, oil immersed to keep it cool. Right, limited space with laptops and stuff in the way, but we'll give it a go. I think this is the first on the tool stuff I've done on a live stream ever, but don't get too excited, it's not too technical. Right, get rid of the screws, don't want to lose those. And it's probably pretty damned old, isn't it? Okay, let's have a little look inside and see. Oh, look at that. Right, well, there's nothing in the lid. The lid is pretty much empty other than the handle. Inside, it's all sealed. Look at that. Gloopy stuff. And we've got an old school ceramic fuse. Well, the wire's still intact, so there you are, look. Sorry, wasn't really on camera there, was I? Old school ceramic fuse. That shows just how old this thing is. And the circuit breaker, the red button, the thermal cutoff switch, just in case you overload it. But it's not badly made, is it really, to be honest? But obviously not really serviceable, given the fact it's full of gloop. It would be a bit of a pain to try and get in there and do anything. So I don't think we could access that 110 volts, unfortunately. We'll pop that back in there, if it's going to go in. Of course it's going to go in. There we are, look. Right. Now, anything on the underneath? No. Nothing on the underneath. So, almost unexciting, but I do like the fact it's got a red switch inside. Right, we'll pop that over there. We'll get the old camera back up to... Oh, we've got 33 people watching. Look at that. Bloody, is that high enough? That's not high enough, Andy. Let's go higher. There we go, look. How's that? That'll work. Right. Okay, where did we get to? Betsy 387. All good, buddy. Well, that's nice to know. I've had a really busy week. How was your week? What have you been up to? Killswitch BB coffee. What? No cider. I am really tired today. I've had a full-on sort of 6.5 days since we finished the last live stream. It's been, you know, I haven't stopped, to be honest. Other than the sleep, I've been working. It was a pretty full-on stint. I wouldn't normally do a trip like that. It would be a bit more relaxed and a bit more downtime, to be honest. But everything I did had to be done that week, and it was touch and go whether I was going to get it all done, to be honest. But we pulled it off, and there was no problems. Despite some of the roads down there being crazy icy, unfortunately. It was good fun, but you know, after a while it gets a bit tiring because you're having to concentrate so much, and it slows down your journey time. So there was late nights getting to where I was going. I did actually, just for your own reference, I did actually look at moving my accommodation from, I stayed in Hammer Springs, not last night, obviously I was home, but the night before. On the Friday night, I'd already pre-booked to stay in Hammer Springs, And earlier in the week, I was looking at my itinerary and I thought, nah, it's going to mean a ridiculously early start to get to Picton to get the ferry. The ferry sailed at 11, so the latest check-in was 10 a.m. And I mean, if you go onto Google Maps, it said, when I set off in the morning, it said 3.5 hours. It's complete bullshit, to be honest. It takes about 5.5 hours to get up to Picton under the road conditions that I was driving. And there's a ton of roadworks up the west coast as well, which clearly Google Maps was completely unaware about. So yeah, I was going to move my accommodation up to Picton, and then I could have, finished my last visit in Rangiora, it was, and then just spend the whole evening getting up to Picton. Probably would have got there, I don't know, probably around midnight if I'd stopped somewhere for tea on the way. Yeah, it's a really late to arrive at your accommodation, but that would have been better because I could have had a bit of a lie in. Plus, I'm driving roads that hadn't yet frozen up, whereas middle of the night it was, 4 a.m. Obviously, the roads have got to the coldest they're going to get, and there's more chance of ice. And there was a lot of fog, freezing fog as well. But the accommodation supplier in Hammer Springs refused to cancel the booking, even though there was still more than 24 hours left when I notified them. And they told me that their policy was 48 hours, which I won't be using them again, to be honest. Doing my job, my schedule is flexible and things can change, and I need accommodation suppliers that can do that. So I won't be going back there again, and I'll just use somebody else, and I'll be checking what their terms are. Right, Robert Hickey, watch out for Dixon if it melts down. Dioxin. Yeah, okay. So that's going to give off some pretty nasty fumes that you don't want to breathe in. So hopefully, I mean, with that little protection switch in there, we shouldn't have any problems, should we? It should be all right. Jim Haynes, it looks cold there, but it was hot and humid at the races we had last night. Really, it is pretty chilly. I mean, it's always colder in the workshop, especially around these benches first thing in the morning, because they're very thick steel. I mean, this one's about, I don't know, about 8mm plate on top, and once it gets cold through the night, it takes about half a day to start to warm up. And even on the vice, I get really cold arms when I'm doing this job. Now then, Jim Haynes, they call that goop potting here. Well, there you go. I didn't know. Connor K. Good morning, Connor. Good to have you on board. Hey, Andy, missed the last 2 live streams. You did, but damn it, I made it today. Cheers. Cheers, Connor. Great to have you on board. Now, that phone, my other phone, the one I use every day, has just bleeped. Now, it's just reminded me that I need to give somebody a shout out, to be honest. Let me just try and find what I'm shouting out. Oh, my word, there's all sorts going on here. Bear with me. There's loads of email. I left my phone in the car last night, so I haven't really caught up with anything yet. Vodafone's telling me I've got some loyalty points, which is nice. No idea what the hell they are. Now then, where is it? Ah, right. Okay. I think I can show that on there. Does it give Jimmy's surname? No, it doesn't. Okay, right. One of the viewers, Jimmy K, ordered his official Andy Mechanic mug. Now, he went for the other design. He went for the big Andy Mechanic YouTube logo only on the mug. And Jimmy sent that through this morning. It arrived here at 12:24 a.m. This morning, which obviously I was fast asleep at the time. But Jimmy, it's great to see that you've got your mug. And I will post that picture onto the Instagram where I'm putting all the photos that come through. And great segue, more stuff. Hang on. Jeez, terrible. Where did I put it? Oh, I don't know where it is now. I've lost it. Hang on. I'm sure it was in there. Where did I put it? I have a little. I have a little socket set that I'm going to give off to a lucky user, and I've put it somewhere really safe, and I can't find it. So I'm going to have a hunt round. You guys entertain yourselves for a second, because I'm going to have to move some stuff. I'm sure I've got it somewhere. Ugh. Oh. No. No, it's not even in there. Where the hell is it? Oh, finally, sorry crew, it's very unprofessional. I mean, I should have got that out before. So, everybody that buys something from the zazzle.co.nz or zazzle.com, it makes no difference, website, be it an Andy Mechanic official mug, whatever variant, keyrings, Tool Girl leggings for your partner, or what else is there? Oh, there's now a new thermal coffee mug that I did as well. You're all going to go into a drawer, and at the end of the year, so we'll do it sometime in December, I'm going to send you, together with some other Andy Mechanic goodies, I'm going to send you this. Okay, now this is a little 1/4-inch drive socket set that I bought a while ago. I didn't buy it to give it away, I bought it to use it, but I haven't used it yet. And it's for my field, so in-field servicing. So I'll just get another one, that's not a problem. But inside, it's very tidy, nice little box. It's probably all going to fall down. You've got, you know, quite a range of sockets. The sockets go from 4mm, look at that, it's tiny, from 4mm, very useful for little stuff, right up to a 13mm, which is that one there, look, deep sockets. So you've got shallow, you've got deep. The deeps go from 6 to 13, which is a single hex. In fact, they're all single hex, and the shallow sockets go from 4 to 12. Oh no, 13, there's a 13 on the corner. You've got your ratchet, and of course you've got your extension bar, and you've got a little universal joint. And there's some bits, so there's somewhere in there, there'll be a bit holder. There we are, look, a little bit holder. And what else have we got? Oh, we've got some bits to go with it as well. So you've got quite a handy little kit there. And there's also a reducer, so you can use your 3/8 ratchet or something on those sockets as well. So I do like socket sets. It's brand new, never used, although I have opened it now, obviously. So somebody, some lucky person somewhere, I'm going to send that to, and I'll do that at the end of the year. So that's the one there. If you want to read more about it, there'll be a part number on there. There you are. Look, a stock number. You can go onto a Tang Tools website somewhere and take a look. ISL Industrial, East Tamaki, New Zealand. But I mean, there are Tang Tools suppliers all over the world. Distributors, and even in the States you can order them online. You can't buy them out of stores yet, I believe, but you can actually buy them online from a distributor in the States, and they'll send you whatever you want. Right, so there you go. That was for Jimmy K. Big shout out, and broadening it out to everybody. If you end up getting yourself a mug or whatever, you do need to send me an email with a selfie of your chosen merchandise. And tell me a bit about yourself, what project you're working on. Make it interesting, maybe include some other pictures if you want of the project that you're working on. And from all of those emails that are coming in, there's quite a few coming through now, I'm going to put them all into a folder, and I'll choose the one that I think, well, the one that stands out, basically. Not the best selfie. It doesn't matter about how pretty or not pretty or handsome you are. It's all about, the whole package. So, yeah, a bit of fun, send it through. And I'll send you out, the winner will get the socket set. I might send them a Tang Tools cap and some Andy Mechanic stuff as well. There you go. How cool is that? Right, that's all and I don't think oh yes, I have promoted that on social media as well. So it's not just people on live stream that are going to know about that, obviously. Now, oh golly. I'm way behind on these. Just bear with me. I'm going to scroll back up again. Ron Warren. Have you had a response from the Tool Girls about their new hot weather clothing range? I have. I bet there's a few people here that aren't aware of that, so I'm gonna have to show you some more pictures. Bear with me. I think I've got them in my phone. I think I have. Yes, here we go, look. So we've got 4 reasonably warm days, a bit too hot for wearing the shirt. We've got that, which I thought was pretty cool. Sorry about the picture, it's not the greatest. Doesn't quite come out that well on the phone, but should work pretty well. And also the girls have been asked to do some promo days, working on stands and so on around New Zealand. So again, that'd be great for them to wear. Now, on really, really hot days here in New Zealand, so we're talking like 38 degrees plus, the girls do complain that in the workshop it gets a bit like an oven in here. And I obviously got to consider their safety. So I've come up with a bikini set for them, which would be great if they end up washing the truck as well. Fantastic. So there are much better pictures available through the Instagram, and I did do a post on YouTube as well, actually, a couple of posts with those pictures. Now, the first one that I showed at the top, that is ordered and on its way. The bikini, I haven't yet ordered, and to be honest, Mrs. Mechanic's not over happy, but oh, I'll have to work on that one, aren't I? Right, I have to get her on set. She'd like that. Now then, so Ron, hopefully that answers your question. The response from the girls was, "You are joking me, Andy," was Tool Girl Lilli's response, and I'm being very honest there. I can't pronounce, or I can't say the middle word there, but yeah, I was quite surprised actually, because I mean, Lilli does all sorts of other stuff as well. She does a lot of nude art and stuff, and I was quite surprised that she'd be a bit shy wearing the bikini, but hey, girls are girls. We'll find out. I just have to treat her somehow, won't I? Anyway, now, Ron Warren from midweek on the road live stream. Yes, that's right. It was. I announced that when I was in Wanaka at the pub having me tea. It was bloody cold down there. A lot colder than it is here. Car Guy 72. Good morning, Andy. Good morning, Car Guy. Thank you for joining us. Ron Warren again. Did you get your metal from the pub? No, I didn't. I left that brake pad, or what was left of it, the backing plate, on the table for them to dispose of. I didn't feel there was any point in dragging that all the way back up here again. It would only end up in the bin up here, so that's gone. Duke of the Dales, where is the furthest place you've posted your mugs to? Well, first of all, the reason why I chose to use Zazzle for the whole Andy Mechanic merchandise, certainly at the moment, I mean, things might change in the future when I have my own website and have a lot of stuff on there, then obviously I'll be doing freight and stuff myself. But with me being away all the time, I wanted to use a company which would ship direct, so you can order whatever you want online. And especially given the majority of my viewers, or certainly half of my viewers, are in the US, and the mugs are produced in the US, I believe, they can, the shipping times and the costs will be at a bare minimum for quite a large number of the viewers, which is good because they're not cheap, I must admit. Yes, I do create a very small revenue from it, but what I get is tiny in comparison to the overall cost of, in this case, the mug. So where's the further? I don't know. I should plot them all on a map. I think some have gone to the UK from the States. Obviously, I probably are one of the furthest away, New Zealand, and I've ordered a few as well. And I know there's a couple of people here in New Zealand that have also ordered them. But we've not had one go to Alaska yet, and I know we have a viewer in Alaska, so maybe, just maybe, he'll order one, and then he'll probably. Oh, mind you, if they're out of the States, Alaska's not that far away, is it? So I don't know. Maybe you should include that in your email. Tell me how far away you are from the factory that sends you, or the supplier that sends you the mug, or furthest away from me. I don't know. Let me know, and we'll include that. Now then, so Duke of the Dales, I can't really answer that at the moment. Sorry, I'd have to do some more investigation work because there's quite a lot of mugs have gone out now. I must admit, I was very surprised how many have been going out. I keep getting a constant stream of emails with selfies and stuff on. Connor Clay, click the like button and keep the YouTube algorithm happy. Yes, please do click the likes. I'm very slack at trying to remind viewers, to those that haven't subscribed, to subscribe, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up, because that does help in promoting the video across the YouTube platform. Oh, 2 more likes. Look at that. You see, it's instant. It's great. Now then, Jim K had to make sure it was safe for corporate. Okay, Jim, good job. I am going to send, I have ordered some more mugs myself, actually, and I'm going to give one to Brandon at Teng Tools, because obviously we've got they do support the channel very heavily. We've got the Teng Tools logo on there. I'm going to send one to Jared at Forge, which is, there's Forge's logo down the side. Very, very helpful at Forge here in New Zealand. Great stuff. And I'm going to send one all the way to the UK to Pico Mike. And we obviously got the Pico logo on there as well. So, and one last mug will go to the lads and the lasses over at Nobby, because they do support the channel as well in more ways than one. To Nobby, and they're based in Australia. If you've not heard of Nobby, I mean, you must have heard it by now, because they're very, very heavy on their marketing. Almost every YouTube video I watch, or Facebook post when I'm scrolling down, or even on Instagram, lots on Instagram actually, they have adverts running. So they must be doing really well with their new business. It's only been going a couple of years, I think. Now then, Ron Warren, what happened to the brake pad? Metal found on the road. Maybe make it into a plonker of the week. Well, to be honest, I've seen loads of those over the years, and I just came across that particular one. Unfortunately, it's gone. Like I say, I've disposed of it now. Duke of the Dales, be quick and sell some Andy Mechanic face masks. We can't go on the bus without one. I thought about it, and I just didn't want to lower myself to that sort of marketing level where I know everybody's buying face masks around the world, and have an Andy Mechanic one, because I don't know, I just get the feeling that I'm going to be, some viewers will get the impression that I'm just trying to cash in on a global crisis. I don't know, I really am in 2 minds in making Andy Mechanic face masks, to be honest, but maybe, if that's what you want, if you're prepared to tell me that that's what you want, maybe I'll do a vote. I'll do a YouTube vote, and if it's, you know, if it's the majority is yes, then I'll design an Andy Mechanic face mask. How's that? And that'll again be available through Zazzle. I'm sure that they do them on Zazzle. Okay, Connor K. There are a couple of dealers that sell those tools in Lisbon. Well, there you go. Thanks, Connor. So if you're anywhere near Lisbon, you can go and pick them up. Teng Tools. Robert Hickey. I don't know how that top will look on you. Probably be a bit tight, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think it'll suit me at all. There's been many comments, usually from young ladies actually that view the channel, that they don't see me wearing the same kind of gear as the female assistants on the channel. Well, clearly because they're female and they have their own set of attire. I'm a gentleman and I wear gentleman's clothing. That's pretty much the way it works in this world, isn't it? For me anyway. Now then, Jim K. I got my mug really fast and it was very reasonable. Well, that's good to know, Jim, because obviously the shipping, when it's shipping outside the US, it does get quite a bit more expensive. And the trick is to order a few things, and then that way the shipping sort of, you know, you can apportion part of the shipping towards each item. I think, I mean, when I order mugs, this is crazy. When I order mugs, I pay exactly the same price as what you pay. I don't get them any cheaper. Although I do eventually, at some point, will get the tiny commissions back on the mug sale. It's weird because Zazzle doesn't recognize me, even though I'm the creator of the mug. It doesn't give me a preferential discount on the mugs. But, you know, what I have noticed with Zazzle is they offer some pretty heavy discounts from time to time. And so if you just keep going on the website, all of a sudden you'll see that there might be 20%, there might be 50% off. And that's the time to flick in there and place your orders. That's what I do, and I tend to save quite a bit doing that. Now then, Jim Haynes, remember the like button is free to click. It is, it doesn't cost you anything. Oh, the cigarette's gone out. Too much talking. Oh, smoke in the eye, smoke in the eye. Right, Dave Ski. Good morning, Dave. Are you sick and tired of the coronavirus? Well, in all honesty, and again, I've just done a nearly over a 3,000 kilometer trip down from the centre of the North Island to about 2/3 the way down the South Island. So Wanaka was the furthest southern point that I did on this trip. And the behaviour of people around me varied tremendously. Some areas are still, people are very conscious about keeping distance and all that kind of thing, which is the COVID requirements here in New Zealand. Whereas, for example, last night I was in Taupo. I'm not going to name the restaurant because I don't want to get into trouble. I was in Taupo picking up my takeaway. And yes, the posters and stuff were all over the doors. Walked into the restaurant and there are requirements for the tables in the restaurant to be a certain distance apart, and sometimes if they're fixed tables, they can't use all the tables. That restaurant was packed. I'm not kidding. It was packed. There were no spare tables. There was probably 4 or 5 groups of people or people there picking up takeaway meals as well. And it was just, work as normal. There was really no social distancing going on whatsoever in that restaurant. Did I feel at risk? No, not really. Not here in New Zealand, because I think we're on day 13, 14, 15 of no new cases. So personally, I feel quite safe. Yes, I still use the hand sanitizer in bits and pieces. We don't have to wear masks. There's no requirement for that. And tomorrow, on the 8th, the Monday, the New Zealand government is going to make a decision whether we're going to move to level 1 early or not. So I'll be obviously, watching the news live when they make that call. I'm pretty confident we are, because there's huge areas of New Zealand now, or so I say, a lot of people that really are just going about their lives in the normal way now. They're not, following any kind of procedures by the looks of it. Frank Sanchez, do it please. Andy Mechanic face mask. Okay, I'll do it. I'll try and get them designed later on today, maybe tomorrow. You should, if you go on to Zazzle midweek, hopefully they'll be up by then. I'll do that for you, okay? Now then, Robert Hickey, lol. Maybe for Halloween, the pumps, the whole kit. JT mate, how are you? I'm good actually, JT. Thank you for asking. I'm pretty worn out from the busy week. Lots of driving, but I've got one more RRV here that I need to get finished. It needs about a day's work left. I've got today and tomorrow to do it. So about a day and a half's labour available. So it's not going to be a rush job. I can get that finished, get the 2 RRVs on the trailer that I've serviced up. And on Tuesday, I'll be heading up to Auckland to get those delivered and pick up another one and start it all over again. Dave Ski, do you own any firearms? I don't, actually. I'm not against firearms. I'm not pro firearms. I used to have a very, very powerful air rifle back in the UK called a Webley Raider, which was you charged it using an air tank, like a little mini diving bottle, and that thing was incredible. For an air rifle, it would fire a 2.2 lead pellet straight through a door panel on a car, no problem at all. We used to have some old Suzuki doors that we used to put targets and stuff on, and it would go through the door, through the metal, and then through the other side. It was just incredible. And if you were out shooting rats with it, there was never a pellet left in the rat. It would just go straight through the rat, and often kill them first shot, which was great. But unfortunately, when I came to New Zealand, I did leave that in the UK. I thought it wouldn't be prudent to bring an air rifle over here. I didn't know what the rules and regulations were. I probably lost the receipt to prove I owned it, and it wasn't in the greatest condition by the time I'd finished. I used it a lot outside in the rain, shooting bits and pieces, and I didn't really look after it, to be honest. But it was a bloody good air rifle. If I was ever to get another air rifle, that's what I would get. Had a really cool telescopic sight on it as well, and I was very good with it. I must admit, I was a good shot. We did some clay pigeon shooting over in Australia a couple of years ago, and I won the prize. I got the trophy for that, which really surprised me. But I was obviously still got it. I'm a good shot. Now then, Jim K. I got my mug along with 2 Father's Day mugs, which was a great deal. Well done. You see, again, you sort of bunched up the freight. And also you can go on there and you can, what I like about Zazzle is you can also, there's a lot of variations to the products. You can use the graphics that I've designed and put them on all sorts of stuff and order it. So yeah, it is. It works very, very well. I do like their platform. And they're not a sponsor of the channel, by the way. It's just a company that I found that works for me. And by the looks of it, it works for you guys as well. So we'll keep that going for as long as we can. George, good morning, Andy. Hope you enjoyed the week-long trip. I did actually. It was good. It was really good to catch up with the dealers and some friends that I have down there. And yeah, I made the most of the trip. Certainly, I didn't feel at risk in any way. Yeah, it was just nice to get out and about, to be honest. It is tiring, though. I must have got all that driving. But no, beautiful scenery. I mean, New Zealand never fails to really astound me on the beauty. You know, it's no matter what time of year you're driving around, the massive views that you get, the huge expanses of plains and then mountains in the distance, and you can be driving for 2 or 3 hours and it's still the same image in your windscreen. It's just phenomenal, you know, it really is. And they've had a lot of rain in the last few weeks in certain areas. There's been some massive landslips, and you've seen all the diggers trying to clear stuff up on the roadworks and things. It's interesting, you know, that the whole country as a landscape is quite fluid. Things are always changing. Rivers are changing their course. There's a lot of glacial rivers which are very seasonal, and you know, really, really wide rivers. But when they're off season, most of it's just gravel, and people take the 4-wheel drives and they drive up the rivers for, you know, it's a really good access route actually into the mountains by driving up a glacial river when it's not flowing, obviously. You won't want to set off in the rainy season, that's for sure. Now then, Dave Ski, your thoughts about the rioting in the US? Well, we did cover that quite a bit on Wednesday night. YouTube, I have to be very careful what I say, because YouTube are constantly pulling videos off YouTube now that mention the virus, the coronavirus, or the rioting, anything like that. They're just pulling the videos down. So forgive me if I'm if you feel I'm shirking off your comments. All I will say is what's going on in the US at the moment is just staggering. It blew me away. I wasn't aware until I saw the news. I think I was in a pub and the TV was on, and it was showing a bit of the rioting and stuff. And I thought, well, okay, it's just one place, but it wasn't. It was widespread. There were quite a few cities around the US that have got this going on at the moment, and it just blew me away what's happening over there. And I don't really fully understand the reason for it, to be honest. I know a gentleman did get killed, and the police were involved. Again, I'm not going to elaborate any more than that, but. And maybe the rioting was a direct response of that, or a response of the controls that are trying to be implemented over the coronavirus. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not a good thing, is it? So those that are involved or affected by the rioting, please do stay safe. You know, I'm not going to take any sides. I just think it's a terrible thing that's going on. Drew Dastardly, Andy, what do you smoke? I gave up 15 years ago and enjoyed Benson Hedges. Lambert and Butler, Embassy, I think that's right, L&B, Lambert and Butler. Embassy, it's £10 a pack plus now in the UK, and I can't be asked anymore. Well, I didn't smoke at all until I came to New Zealand, and these are, I'm going to cover up the horrible picture they put on them. These are Pall Mall, and I've always smoked Pall Mall. I will smoke other stuff if they're not available, but when I'm away, I probably get through maybe a pack and a half in a week. I don't smoke that much. I do try to cut down, and I can not smoke for weeks on end if I want to. It doesn't bother me. I don't have to smoke. But obviously, when you go down to the pub and it's more of a social thing, that's what other people do. And you know, when you see somebody else smoking, for some reason, it makes you have an urge to want to have a cigarette. But no, I can go for days, if not weeks, without having a cigarette. And sometimes I do that. And I feel bad that I am still smoking. I should stop. And it will happen. Because, you know, when you add up the amount of money it costs, it's quite staggering, actually. I mean, a pack like this, these are the slightly longer ones, is 32 New Zealand dollars. That's right, $32. And the vast majority of that is tax, obviously. Robert Hickey, are any flights allowed in or still banned? No, there's no international travel whatsoever, as far as I'm led to believe. The New Zealand government are very, very keen on keeping the borders closed, which I believe is a good thing. I think what they need to focus on is freight supply into New Zealand, because part supply across all brands is becoming a real problem. There's very little air freight coming in, and what is coming in is extremely expensive, which means we're having now, our companies now are moving across to sea freight, which creates tremendous delays, and it's nowhere near as flexible. We still have the option, the companies still have the option of using air freight, but at the end of the day, unless it's a very high value, low weight, low volume component, the profit margin will just go out the window. To be honest, it will be probably at a loss bringing some of those components in. So obviously companies are reluctant to do that, unless of course they pass on the cost to the customer, and they would just have to pay for it. Simple as that, really. Drew Dastardly, those high FPS air rifles are actually considered firearms in the UK. Holy shit. And you get a mandatory minimum of 5 years in the clink. So that must have changed, because when I bought mine, which would have been mid-90s, 95, 96, maybe 98, maybe the back end of 1990s, I just ordered it. I just rang them up, told them what I wanted, and they sent it to me by courier. There was no, I don't even think I needed to provide any kind of ID. I certainly had no special license to buy it. It wasn't cheap. I think it was about £585 for the gun, and then maybe another £150 for the air tank, which I had to go and get charged up by a diving company would refill the tank for me. It lasted quite a while. I didn't use it every day, but it wasn't a cheap gun, but I was very, very pleased with it. Connor, do you ever hear from my dream girl, Hannah? She would look fabulous in one of those safety bikinis. I do like that, safety bikini. I like that. Also, thank you for your concern for the Tool Girl's safety and well-being. Well, thanks, Connor. I do try my best. That's decent of you. Yeah, it is important that I take on board, what they want. And obviously, their safety is paramount. And, by building the range of safety gear that they've got here in the workshop, they can basically, we can select specific safety clothing which will match the job in hand. Very important, obviously. So I'm sure that they feel very safe now that I've expanded the range further. Ron Warren, back in 2009, my brother and me took your mum for a trip to New Zealand. Oh, no, not my mum, surely. For a trip so you took your mum for a trip in New Zealand. She was 80 and lived in Toke. 3 weeks to drive around North Island. Oh, it took 3 weeks to drive around North Island. It does. It's a lot of the roads in New Zealand, they say they've got motorways. We don't have motorways here. We just don't. They don't exist. They call some of the roads motorways. They're not motorways when you compare them to the roads in Europe. To give you an idea, State Highway 1, which runs all the way, north-south almost in New Zealand, North Island, and then again in the South Island. I was driving along State Highway 1 at some point on the last week, and there was a single lane bridge. That's right. And it wasn't a short bridge. This was like maybe 100 meters long. It was crossing one of those glacial rivers. State Highway 1, and you had to stop for minutes on end to allow trucks to come the other way, and then eventually it's your turn and then you can go. You don't get that on the motorways in England. Imagine the M1, 6 lanes or 8 lanes in some places now, I should think, all coming down to a single lane, which only allows traffic in one direction at a time. Can you imagine the chaos that would occur if that happened in England? So it begs belief sometimes that they consider State Highway 1 to be, essentially the main artery of the country. But in reality, there's a number of examples where it's down to a single lane and you've got to give way to oncoming traffic. Mental, it really is. So it does take a lot longer to get anywhere here in New Zealand as regards distance. Definitely, I can certainly get around, and plus speed limits are slower as well. Normally it's 100 kilometers an hour, about just over 60 miles an hour, whereas in the UK on the real motorways, the speed limit was 70. And realistically, I remember doing 85 miles an hour without the cops really bothering you too much at all. That was sort of the assumed accepted maximum speed on the motorways when I was driving around, and that was you know, late 80s, well, early 90s it would have been, early 90s, 2000s, and even with a trailer. I remember going up, I went down to Devon, right to the bottom actually, Penzance I think it was, to go and collect a car, and I was driving my Nissan D22 double cab. It was pretty much brand new, I just bought it, and I was picking a car up for a friend, and I drove down with the trailer empty, drove back up with the trailer, obviously with the car on, and we were going down the M4 towards London. It was probably about 1 in the morning or something, 2 in the morning, and I was doing an indicated 105 miles an hour with the trailer on. Now, obviously, that's way above the speed limit, and most people consider that completely unsafe. I was the only car on the road for miles and miles and miles, and I remember I seen these lights in the distance, and I thought, oh, must just be another car. Anyway, slowly they started to catch up with me, and I thought, man, that guy's doing well. You know, I'm flat to the boards for 50, 60 miles. The car wouldn't go any faster with the trailer. And eventually this car caught me up. And as I was driving along, I was really tired, and I looked across to the right, and it was a police car. It was a Volvo T5 traffic cop. And he just flashed his lights, his little blue lights, momentarily, and looked at me. And I looked back at him, and I didn't ease off the throttle at all. I was still flat to the boards. Ollie was asleep in the back. My mate was asleep in the front passenger seat. And I just looked at him, and he looked at me, and he sort of shrugged his shoulders and then drove off. He just left me to it, which I thought was fantastic. I mean, how lucky can you be? Because traveling at that kind of speed, I would have just lost my license. If he wanted to, he could have taken my license off me. But maybe he just thought, this guy's on a mission. He seems to be all right. You know, I was in the middle lane because the left-hand lane of the motorway is quite ribbed usually by the trucks. So if you've got a trailer and you're traveling at speed, you just don't go in the slow lane. You know, you've got to use the middle lane. There's no need to use the fast lane, the overtake lane. But middle lane, nice and stable. And I had the car right far forward on the trailer, so there was no chance it was going to start snaking around. And it had excellent brakes on it as well. It handled really well, actually, the trailer. So there you go. I got away with not losing my license, and I should have done. I tend to be quite a lucky driver, I must admit. Touch wood. Have I got any wood? I haven't got any wood. I'll have to touch some wood later. Oh, yeah, look. The shed. Oh, there we go. Look, touch wood. Right, back to the comments. Jason Drew, hey Andy, do you have any recommendations for someone starting their own commercial motorcycle stroke ATV shop? Right, I'm going to ask you a question, Jason. You've got to think to yourself, are you going to be starting your own ATV motorcycle shop to make millions of pounds or dollars or whatever? Because the vast majority of ATV, I don't know whereabouts you are in the world, Jason, because that probably has a bearing on this, but the vast majority of ATV stroke motorcycle shops in New Zealand, the guy starts off with lots of money, starts the business, and slowly and surely, for most, their little pot of gold gets smaller and smaller and smaller over the years, and they end up being worse off than they were when they started. That just seems to be the nature of motorcycle shops, unfortunately. I think personally, because I'm in service, I believe that the service department is the most important part of any motorcycle shop, and it's where you can make the most money. The profit margin on the sale of a new vehicle, whether it's a car or a motorcycle, any kind of motor vehicle, unless it's real high end, is pretty minimal, to be honest. You don't earn a lot, and you've still got to assemble the bike and PDI it and all that kind of stuff, which obviously involves a labor content. You've got to pay for the bike pretty much straight away as soon as you sell it. And you know, okay, if you can roll in some finance when you're selling it, then you're going to get a commission on the finance. If you can roll in some insurance, you'll get a commission on the insurance. That sort of makes the whole thing more tenable. And then, of course, you've got to make sure that that customer keeps coming back for regular servicing, because it's the servicing that will earn you the money if you do it right. It's a critical part. And if you can build up a good working relationship in the servicing department, then when that customer decides to sell that bike, you know, and replace it with a new one, he's most likely to stay with your business. Now, you might be multi-franchise and have different brands on site, or you might have one brand. But my personal experience, and we had a garage since 1907 in the UK, and we switched franchises, different manufacturers over the years, because we gave good service at each change of vehicle type. First, for example, we might have sold Nissans. Well, we sold Nissans for a while, then we sold Renault. We were able to retain 80% of our customer base when we switched to Renault. And the same happened when we switched to Subaru, because the customer wanted to deal with us. It's all about customer service, and it's all about building up that relationship with your customer. Yeah, some invaluable information there. But advice, yeah, you need good techs, you need good equipment, and you need to be really savvy on marketing and making sure you've got a very high customer retention. And to do that, you need good customer service, and listen to your customer. Every customer is slightly different. Okay, now then, there's loads. So hopefully, Jason, that's given you a few pointers. Feel free to keep asking me. You can even send me an email if you want. I'm very keen to help. And make sure you design your workshop correctly. It's all about the techs not wandering around all the time to get tools. You've got to keep the technicians on the tools as much as possible. Having them doing the invoicing, or speaking to the customers all the time, that's all downtime. When they're doing that, they're not making you money, they're costing you money. You should have a service manager for that kind of stuff. Jim Haynes, we have lefty anarchists here that are paid to cause trouble. I don't know, Jim. Thanks for the information. I just hope that everybody stays safe over there, to be honest. Drew Dastardly, haha, menthol. I used to smoke them when I was 18-year-old with my 18-year-old girlfriend. Well, I just prefer them, but I do smoke the regular cigarettes as well now and again. But I find they give me a really sore throat and stuff. I do too much talking, that's my problem. Ron Warren, or not your spell checker and bad typing. Okay, got that. Okay, cheers, Ron. Duke of the Dales, when did you move to New Zealand, and what made you go there? I'm hoping to visit one day, if we are ever allowed to leave the UK again. Well, I think you will be allowed to leave the UK again. I don't think it's going to go on forever. There's far too many economic pressures to keep populations captive. The world relies now on people moving around. That's just the way it is. But we're going to have to move around in a very different way, I think, with a lot more precautions in place. But what made me move here? Well, in 2008, we had the global financial crisis, and that spread across to the UK, caused a lot of problems, as you well know. You can Google it, I'm sure. And well, the business that I had was predominantly tourism related customers and corporate team building, both of which were dramatically affected by that downturn in the economy. And I just made the call. I saw the economy starting to collapse. I made the call. I'd already bought a house in New Zealand because Mrs. Mechanic's parents live here. They lived here for quite a few years. And I'd always promised her that we'd go and live in New Zealand at some point, because that's what she wanted. I'd done my business for 15 years, and it was time then to give Mrs. Mechanic what she wanted. And there was no better time, to be honest. I had to just pull the plug, pack up, and go. And it all happened within about 4 weeks. It was very quick. There's a huge, long story in the background behind all of that. Something which I am saving for a later date. It will probably be a series that I'll end up going onto the channel, because there's so much information and things that happened in the background. But I just don't feel comfortable promoting that to the wider audience at this point in time. Now then, Connor, £5.10 for a pack of American cigarettes in any shop in Portugal. No, sorry, €5.10. Wow, that's cheap. Connor, Jeremy Clarkson busted up a rental car on the roads in northern New Zealand while racing Richard Hammond, who was on a racing sailboat. I saw that. I saw that. I remember watching that episode, and it was really cool to see them here in New Zealand. And he did, because when you get further up north, 90 Mile Beach sort of area, so just north of Kaitaia, all the way up to the lighthouse. I think that's where he went. That's where the race was held, I think, from memory. There are quite a few really good gravel roads up there. I did it when I went up to the lighthouse. I was on my KTM 640 LC4 with Ben, and we were riding the beach. We took the beach route. Biggest problem was fuel supply. We were really, we knew we were going to be close on fuel. And going up that beach, there's now a 50-kilometer speed limit. I was tapped out most of the time, 160 kilometers an hour on that beach. You had to be really careful what line in the sand that you took. You couldn't go in the soft sand, in the dry stuff, the powder sand. You had to be just away from where the waves stop, and that sand was pretty stable. Biggest problem that we had was every now and again a stream or even a river would cut across the beach to the sea, and there could be a foot or a 2-foot drop down into the river. So obviously, you couldn't hit it at that kind of speed. You had to see it ahead and slow right down and then try and pick a line through. Immense amounts of fun, and fortunately no police around, because we would have got the book thrown at us for going that fast. And there's been quite a few people killed on that beach for doing exactly the same thing, where there's been maybe a tree that's been almost sunk in the sand and just one branch sticking up, or even cars. Regularly cars are abandoned on that beach because they stay out when the tide comes in and they can't get them out. And there was 4-wheel drives that had overturned and stuff, and man, you've only got to hit one of those, or just something just proud of the sand, and it can throw you off, and there's nobody around to help. You're absolutely on your own, which means it's extremely dangerous. Would I do it now at that kind of speed? Probably not. I've started to mellow a bit in my older age. Duke of the Dales, has Mrs. Mechanic got any sisters looking for a nice English Duke? And I don't mean the motorbike. Mrs. Mechanic does have a sister, but she's been married for many, many years, happily married, may I add. So I don't think you're going to get in there, Duke, unfortunately. She also has a brother, but obviously not the right gender, but he's also married and happily married, and he's not going anywhere, to be honest. Dave Ski, ever been to the US? Very simple answer, Dave. No, I haven't. Would love to come, but not at the moment, obviously. Duke of the Dales. Okay, well, we've run out of comments. I've rattled through those as well. I won't say as quickly as I could, but we're already almost an hour and 10 minutes in. We've got 33 viewers and 29 likes. So there's 4 of you out there that haven't clicked the like button. If you can click the like button, that would be really good, because it helps YouTube to instills YouTube to promote the video a bit more. Oh, we've got one from Matterwix. It's under review, so I might not be able to do it. Let's see, I'm going to read it to myself first. Sorry, Matterwix, I'm not going to put that up on the channel. But it sounds to me, I'm going to sort of summarize. It sounds to me, Matterwix is telling me that London has got some real problems at the moment with protesters. And I won't say what it's about. I'm sure if you're watching the news, especially the international news, you'll be able to see all about it. So if you're in London, please do try and stay safe and stay clear of those problem areas. Dave Ski, anything you don't like about New Zealand government? Yes. As a avid motorcyclist, although not quite so avid as I used to be, because I don't have the time, in the UK, just first of all, those that are in the UK will know this, we have national insurance and we have road tax, and your road tax creates a revenue ideally to maintain the roads and so on. It all goes into a central pot, and then the government distributes it out to the local councils to maintain the roads in their area. And they get paid per mile depending on the classification of the road. And I know this from all the green laning that I used to do in the UK. The government, also the local councils, have been receiving money for the network of roads that were classed as green lanes, still public highways, but for many, many, many years didn't spend that money on the green lanes. They then allocated it back onto the tarmac roads, which meant that the green lanes very quickly dropped into a state of disrepair when they started to be used by, quite legally, 4-wheel drivers such as myself, and trail riders. And because a lot of them were in national parks, the national parks then got involved and tried to close the green lanes because they weren't being maintained. Anyway, here in New Zealand, it's very, very different. If you have an accident, there's what they call ACC content in your road tax. And motorcyclists, unfortunately, tend to require a lot more fixing after an accident than car drivers. And because of that, the content, the amount you charged as a contribution towards ACC is massive on your road tax for a motorcycle. Cars are really cheap. For example, we've got that little Suzuki Alto, Team Henry we call it. He's parked in the garden at the moment. He's got a cracked windscreen. The frost has cracked the windscreen. And that's a 560 odd cc triple engine. So it's a very, very small engined car. And to pay for the road tax, including the ACC content for the whole year, is about $120, $140. For a motorcycle with the same engine size, so my KTM 640 LC4 is about 650 New Zealand dollars. A huge difference. And the underlying problem is the government don't seem to look at who's to blame in an accident that involves a motorcyclist. For example, the accident could have been caused by a car driver pulling out on a bike, but it's still classed as a motorcycle accident. So therefore, there's lots and lots more cases that are included in the count of motorcycle accidents, which I don't think they should be. I think it should be classed, because the investigation has been done and it's been allocated that the car driver caused the accident. That particular accident should be loaded up onto the car driver's ACC, or car drivers in general ACC. But no, every single accident on the road that involves a motorcycle reflects badly on the motorcycle ACC contribution, and it just keeps going up. It's bloody ridiculous. So that's my main issue. I know it's only a small thing compared to what the government do here in New Zealand, but I think it needs to change because, we're trying to be more environmentally friendly in our countries and to encourage people to ride motorcycles because they use a lot less fuel and they're a lot better for the environment. But just the cost alone of the road tax means it puts a lot of people off, to be honest, and they just jump in the car because essentially it's cheaper for road tax. Sure, it uses more fuel, but it is cheaper for road tax. And it's dry and comfy. You have a radio, an aircon. So, Matawix, do you think Labour will get in? No, I don't. I absolutely do not. I think because of the COVID situation, I think Jacinda will just, she's done a fantastic job for this country. And it's not the first catastrophe she's had to deal with. And I think she's a great leader. I really do. I think she's done a fantastic job. She's been under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. But in general, she's kept the country together and led it through what is potentially a horrific situation, which we can see if we look outside the country around the world. The same, unfortunately, hasn't been for other countries. They've had some, and still have got, a tremendous problem. Jim K, any updates on the brake situation and our RV? You'll have to elaborate, Jim. Sorry, I don't think so on that one. Drew Dastardly, road tax should be banned and rolled out into fuel duty. I agree completely. That'd be great, but it gives a pile of Welsh people officious government employment. Yes, DVLA. Yes, they're down in Swansea, aren't they, I believe. Matawix. Yeah, ACC on my scooter is $40 a month. It's on hold right now. Again, a lot of motorcyclists do put their bikes on hold over the winter months for that very reason. Is it's just so frigging expensive. The bikes still get a nice Sunday where they want to ride the bike, but it's on hold. Some are tempted to ride them and try and get away with it, whereas the majority that want to stick to the law just don't ride their bike, and that affects the whole economy. Motorcycle shops are really quiet because of it. They'd be a lot busier. It would allow bike shops to keep mechanics all year long as well. if they were busy, and they're not. Some of them are really quiet through the winter months. Dave Ski, how is the health insurance in New Zealand? Well, again, it's all through ACC and stuff. I haven't had to really use it too much. All I do know is if there's something wrong with you, you break your arm or your hand. I mean, I actually broke a bone in this hand here a few years ago. Again, I won't elaborate how that happened, but it had something to do with this. They fixed it up, no problems at all. Didn't have to pay anything apart from, I think I paid for the odd X-ray, I think it was, but that was about it. It's not quite as extensive as the National Health Service in the UK. I think they just cover all the costs, or they used to do anyway. Matterwicks, that's why I'm careful at intersections on my bike. When you ride a motorcycle, especially for as long as I have, and from a young age, you start to develop a sixth sense. And when you're riding, you're looking at all the cars on the road or any other vehicle on the road, and you're thinking, well, subconsciously you start to think, well, what if that car does this? And obviously there can be many, many different scenarios, potential scenarios that could occur ahead of you and even behind as well. And subconsciously you're planning your attack of where you're going to go as the rider. For example, case in question, I was in New Lynn a while ago, and I was following a car, and there was a couple of cars behind me, and the car in front braked really hard. I don't know why, whether a cat ran out in front of them or a child or whatever. They braked really, really hard. Now, as you know, cars can stop, especially with ABS, can stop a lot quicker than motorcycles. We were only going, I think, 50 k's an hour. We were in an urban area, and I couldn't stop. I knew subconsciously the distance that was available between me and the car was insufficient for me to stop, and I would have gone into the back of that car. But without even thinking about it consciously, I went left. I already had planned that. I knew that the pavement was empty of pedestrians, and I ended up obviously braking, but I had to steer as well, so I couldn't brake too hard, otherwise I'd have skidded. And I ended up riding down the pavement, and then I got stopped. So I needed maybe another 10 or 15 meters to get pulled up. So, and I thought, oh shit, why did I do that? But then I realized, once you can come to a rest, you realize what's going on, taking into account everything that's happened. And the car that was behind me, I don't think he had ABS in his car, and he almost went into the back of the car that was in front of me. So, you do develop this sixth sense. It saved me many, many times on the road. And it's a sense that I obviously still use. It's still there in the background when I'm driving as well now. So if I'm on the motorway and we have to do an emergency motorway, if I'm on a main road here in New Zealand, and again, there's an emergency stop, something happens and we have to anchor on, the first thing that I do is look in the rear view mirror and see what the guy behind is doing. And if they've seen us slow down, because if they haven't, they're going to go straight into the back of whatever I'm driving, and I don't want that. I need to get out of the way. So it may well be that, again, I need to go left or I need to go right or whatever, just to get out of the way of that car or even a truck that's behind me. I don't want to be involved in a multiple car pileup. I'd much rather be, off onto a grass embankment or something, where at least I can probably get pulled up safely. So yeah, motorcyclists, you've got to think ahead all the time and plan your attack. Ride defensively. Now then, sorry, I've got to scroll back up again. I do talk way too much. Right. Jim K. Is a helmet a requirement to be on the road for a motorcycle? Absolutely it is. I remember in the UK, the only time that was a bit weird, in New Zealand, you can legally ride some trikes, depending on how they're registered. You can ride some trikes without a helmet. I don't know what the category is. Some you have to wear a helmet because they're registered as almost like a motorcycle-derived trike. But if it's a car-derived trike, so it's got a VW Beetle back end to it and just a motorcycle front end, then legally you could ride it without a helmet. But man, really, would you want to be honest? I'd feel a lot safer wearing a helmet. In the UK, again, we used to have a lot of quad bikes, ATVs, that were fully road registered. I mean, I've got two of them here, they're outside, and you could ride those down the M1, you could go to Paris, you could go to Berlin, you could do everything on that quad bike legally that you could do in a car. And legally, you didn't have to wear a crash helmet at that time. Again, it may have changed, but I would always wear a crash helmet. You know, I mean, why wouldn't you? It's your head. You've only got one of them, and head injuries are you know, a very serious thing, aren't they? Duke of the Dales, did you ever watch Billy Connolly? I did, when he toured New Zealand on his trike. Yes, I did. I did watch that series. And do you use a GoPro when you ride on the roads? Yes, yes, and yes. I don't always use a GoPro when I'm riding on the roads, and I did do a series which I haven't been able to put the last couple of episodes up. In fact, I've not even edited them. This was before I started working for my current employer. In actual fact, on that trip in the South Island was when I got notification that I'd got this job with my current employer. So I did film the whole thing. I was using a GoPro. It was a absolutely brilliant motorcycle trip. It was like 5 days. We did loads of off-road trails, lots of deep river crossings and stuff. And in fact, the deepest river crossings are in the last episode, which I can't put up because I was riding a particular brand of motorcycle which can't now appear on the channel on new videos. So I sort of missed the boat. I didn't get them all edited up in time before my employment started with this current employer. Hopefully one day I'll be able, I've still got the rushes, I'll be able to edit those last 2 episodes up and get them up on the channel, because there's some absolutely epic riding on there. Really good fun. You should, if you're interested in watching the ones that are already up, just go through the channel on the videos and you'll find there's probably 4 or 5 episodes already up of me riding that bike with a group of people, and we're doing some pretty cool trails around the South Island. Really good fun. And I did enjoy making that series. I just can't put the rest of them up. It's a real shame, to be honest. Shane, do you smoke marijuana? No, I don't, actually. I don't. A lot of people here in New Zealand do, but I don't. It would, unfortunately, I think it would affect, you know, because I do a lot of driving, and I have to be able to think straight. You know, I'm doing a lot of diagnostics on vehicles and stuff. I don't think it would work with my lifestyle, unfortunately. Matowix, are you voting to legalize marijuana? I don't have a problem with it. I mean, like I say, a lot of people in New Zealand use it, they smoke it, and that's their choice. And should the government regulate that, or keep it unlawful? Hey, it goes on anyway, to be honest. I don't think there'll be a sudden huge rise in the use of it should it become legal here in New Zealand. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it becoming legal. I really don't. But the biggest issue is, you know, it shouldn't be used in the workplace, because you're at work, you've got to think straight. You might be using machinery, driving vehicles. You've got to be safe at the end of the day. What you do in your own home, entirely up to you, as far as I'm concerned. Now then, Dave Ski. Oh my word, there's loads. How does this health insurance work in New Zealand? In New Zealand, New Zelmas. Well, like I say, it's ACC. They get revenue from all sorts of different avenues. A lot of it comes from road tax. There's a huge chunk of it in road tax, especially motorcycles. But I think all that money just goes into a central pot, and then the government just pay out, you know, a budget for the health service each year. I don't really know, to be honest. Jim K, the ROV. Sorry, the ROV. Yeah, I'm well on with them. I've got 1 more day's work to do on the second one, and then I've got 2 that are ready to go back, and then I've got 1 more to pick up. The other one that's still here, which is waiting for the top end rebuild. It's going to get a new cylinder head put on because it's gone porous or it's cracked, one or the other. I'm going to get it tested again, or tested once it's taken off, just to actually find the true fault. But I know for sure it's not the head gasket, because I did fit a new head gasket to it, and the fault actually got slightly worse. So it's going to get a new head, it's going to get a new barrel, new piston and rings, full top end rebuild, new parts. Because it's an emergency vehicle, it has to be right. And it is still under warranty, and they've had the problem from day one. So it needs to be fixed, although the problem has slowly been getting worse. As regards the testing on the new ROV for the air induction, nothing else has happened. I've had no work time to focus back on that. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I can revisit that, get some sensors put on, and get out and do the final testing. I have done some theoretical research and calculations, in between, and everything is looking good. I'm very confident it's going to work. Drew, you're a funny guy. Drew broke his right hand as well, but for a very different reason to me. Very funny. Matowix, it's a $200 fine for riding a bike with the rego on hold. Probably worth the risk. Exactly. I'm not going to try and instill people to do that, but $200, that's really realistically less than less than 4 months road normal charges on your rego. So especially if you're riding in a rural area, or what I was told is if you're riding through peak traffic, then again the cops are very, very unlikely to pull you up unless there's another problem. If they've already pulled you up and noticed that you're riding on hold, then of course you're going to get a fine. But sometimes they'll say to you, hey, if you go and pay your rego now, you get 7 days to pay your rego, we will quash the fine. So sometimes you can get away with it, but I don't do that. I don't have time to ride very often, and when I do, I only have a couple of bikes that are on the road, and I keep them in full rego. So if I get a spare day, I can get on it, but it's a really expensive way of doing it, to be honest. It probably costs me a couple of $100 for each day that I ride. It's just mental. Drew Dassley, I don't smoke marijuana and find it horrible, but I think it should totally be legalized. I think you're in the same boat as me, to be honest. I can't say what it's like because I've never tried it. Dave Ski, what do you do for a job? Well, I have to be very careful, and I can only really summarize. I can't, elaborate on the particular manufacturer that I work for. But for the last 3 years, or just over 3 years now, I've been the service support guy for a brand of motorcycle and ATV that's here in New Zealand. There's only one of me, and I cover the whole country, which, as we sell more and more vehicles every year, it's becoming quite a task, to be honest. I don't have time to do everything. Unfortunately, it's not like me. I like to dot all the I's and cross all the T's and be completely up to date with everything the way that I work. And I managed that for the first year, the first 18 months, but there's so much going on now that I do fall behind, and some tasks fall by the wayside. I just can't do everything. And that I find difficult to accept, to be honest. So that's why I put so many hours in trying to catch up. But I really could do with a right-hand man just to help out. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Ian Watley, sorry I'm late. We'll have to catch your replay from a wet Somerset in the UK. Well, it's not wet here, Ian. It's nice and dry, but it's a bit chilly this morning. Jason Bryan, what's up, Andy? Well, I'm recovering from a really long week on the road. Mazowix, you didn't get a haircut. I didn't. I've tried to pat it all down. If I do that, look, there you go. It's getting quite long. There's no gel or anything in it today, just trying to hold it back. So I just put the cap on and hope for the best. If all goes to plan, Barber John should be here a week today, next Sunday. So I'll be finishing my live stream, and then hopefully we're doing a video, a proper video on Barber John in the workshop sorting Andy's hair out, which is very, very weird for an automotive channel, but I think it's really just to celebrate the fact that we're out of lockdown and things are starting to get back to normal, and I can get rid of all this stuff because it just looks horrific. So many people comment at the moment. It's unbelievable. But it's a bit of fun, isn't it? End of the day, I've got to shave the beard. Mrs. Mechanic likes the beard, but things keep living in it, and I keep finding like breakfast from the previous day and things in there. It's a bit hard, and I don't think it's ideal in a workshop, to be honest, because it gets really oily and takes a lot of management. I don't have a lot of time for that kind of stuff. So Matowix, watch this space. Jim Haynes, I don't know. I have met some people that may be better off without a helmet. Funny guy. No, I would never wish that on anybody, to be honest. Jason Bryan, North Carolina, USA, here. Right. Well, hello, Jason from North Carolina. Good man. Welcome aboard. George, watching this stream only because 3 helmets saved me from 5 horrible crashes, 3 on road, 2 on track. You got to wear a helmet. It's as simple as that. I mean, mountain biking now. I mean, my brother-in-law, Mrs. Mechanic's brother, he does a lot of mountain biking, and he's had some very serious accidents. He's got a metal rod in his back. He's always smashing up his knees and stuff. Um, he that activity that he does has been far more detrimental to his body than me riding a motorcycle. I know luck plays a huge part of it, but man, we call him Disaster Man, and for a very good reason. He's always hurting himself. But he always wears a helmet. And if he hadn't been wearing a helmet on some of his crashes, man, he wouldn't be here now. Simple as that. So yeah, Jim K, did the ROV overheat? Well, yes, it only overheated because the coolant system is pressurizing. I don't believe that the coolant system pressurizing or over pressurizing is a result of an initial overheat. It's had this problem from day one. And basically what's happening is combustion pressure is getting into the cooling system. And over quite an extensive period of time, it doesn't happen straight away. It will then get to the point where it will exceed the radiator cap rating, which is 1.1 bar. And then, of course, that will release. And a lot of the coolant will then end up going into the expansion bottle and probably on the floor, by which time it's then going to damage the engine. So it has, as a result of that, it has overheated, but only minor, because I've pulled the thermostat out of the vehicle. And on that particular brand, if the engine experiences a major overheat, the thermostat opens and locks in the open position. And that's a way of telling the technician that the engine's had a serious overheat. That hasn't happened because it's still on the original thermostat, although I've got a new one to go in when I do the rebuild. I believe it was a fault from day one. It was an assembly fault, a casting problem, be it in the cylinder or in the head. And obviously I'm going to investigate further. I like to know exactly what the problem is, but because the vehicle has to go back, I can't wait any longer. And the fact we've got delays on part supplies, I've just ordered a complete top end. Obviously I'll use the camshaft and the internals and stuff from the old parts, but a new cylinder head, new barrel, new piston, new rings. Always replace piston rings if you've had an overheat situation, otherwise chances are it'll start to burn oil in the future. I don't think, because it hasn't had a major overheat situation, it won't have damaged the big end on the vehicle. It's never been low on oil. I've serviced it from day one. And they did keep reporting that there was a problem. It would overheat now and again. Minor, because it has an overheat warning light on the dash, and they're very good. As soon as that would come on, they would turn it off. Simple as that. I need to get this fixed for them once and for all. And previously, on previous servicing, I could have it running for half an hour, and I didn't notice any adverse effects. There was no bubbles coming through the coolant, whereas now there is. But they're minute, tiny little bubbles. I think there's a crack in either the cylinder head or the cylinder itself. But we'll find out, and I'll keep you posted. Now then, Mazowix, but parking meter attendants can do you for Reggio too. They can. You can get a fine for that, so you're gonna be real careful where you end up parking. I actually got done for that. In fact, another little story. I was in Auckland, and it was New Year's Eve, and the Reggio ran out at midnight New Year's Eve, and I'm not joking. At just gone 1 a.m., so less than an hour after the Reggio expired, I got a ticket. How unlucky was that? Honestly, I mean, tell me what parking attendant is roaming the streets at 1 a.m. on New Year's Day, basically? I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely staggered. And I was going to write in and complain, but I thought, I'll just pay it. I can't be bothered. So I just paid it and obviously got Reggio for the truck. But yeah, there is a word for those kind of people. I'm not going to say it on this channel, but I'm pretty sure you know where I'm coming from. Now then, Drew Dastardly, 2,500 a £2,500 fine for driving a sawn vehicle. Yep, sawn off the road. Same as Reggio on hold here in New Zealand. In the UK, just to temporarily move it off your drive, for example. Yeah, they're really keen over there. I remember because we used to have so many four-wheel drives, rather than do a sawn declaration, we would often change them to farm road tax as a farm vehicle because it was like £30 for the year, and it wouldn't matter if you were found on the road. You just had to prove that you're using it for farming. So we'd just put a bale of straw or something in the vehicle or in the boot, and we're off to go and feed the sheep officer. So that for us was a really easy way of getting around it and not have to manage all that sawn declaration stuff. Dave Ski, what kind of welder do you have? Well, it's just here, and it's a Murex, and it's a Murex Tradesmig 251, and they're not available anymore. Obviously, Murex, as far as I'm aware, don't exist anymore. And it's 251 amp. It's a MIG welder, and I've had it for many, many years, and it's brilliant. It's done all this steel work in this workshop, and hundreds and hundreds of other jobs, both in the UK and here in New Zealand. For the first few years, that MIG allow me to generate quite a sizable secondary income. So I wouldn't be without it, that's for sure. It did start to play up a while ago, and it turned out that simply it was two issues. One was the earth clamp wasn't that good, so we fixed that, and also just the little tip in the gun had just come loose on the threads, so again it wasn't getting a good contact. Fixed that, and now it's mint. I've still got the big power supply to get connected up to the workshop, a 200 amp power supply. Once that's installed, then the MIG will operate at full power, which gives it full penetration on the real big steel. I think I can run up to 1 mil wire in it. That's the maximum it can do. I run 0.8, which I find is fine for everything that I do really at the moment. Oh my word. Duke of the Dales, are you traveling again this week? No. Only up to Auckland. Any live streams planned? So no, there won't be any live streams midweek. That was I wouldn't say a one-off, but it's a very irregular occurrence. This week is just up to Auckland on Tuesday. I'll stay in Auckland Tuesday nights. I'll be in the office at HQ on the Wednesday, coming home Wednesday night, working from home Thursday, and I'm taking the Friday off, as the Monday and the Tuesday this week as well, coming up, to try and claw back some of the hours that I've put in the last week. Plus, I've got a lot of jobs that I need to get done here that I've got deadlines to hit. So it's a big juggling act for me at the moment. Matowix, is New Zealand tap water okay in a radiator? Yeah, most areas the tap water's fine, to be honest. There's not too much lime in it. Jim K, is there a possibility for any goodwill on the ROV rebuild? Yes, there is. I'm under warranty. The manufacturer is providing all the parts and labour. It will not cost the club a penny, or a cent, should I say. The whole thing is being covered. All costs are covered. I'm putting the labour in there for free. I'm not charging them for that. Barry Thomas, are you in favour of roll bars on ATVs? Man, that is a really, I could talk all morning about that. Just going back to the beginning, I'm going to cover this because it's going to affect anybody and everybody that operates an ATV in first world countries eventually. There was a huge study done in the US when we had quad bikes in the UK. People would roll over, they would roll over on the bike. The bike would squash them and there'd be injuries and they'd hurt their ankles and that kind of thing. Fortunately, we didn't have any fatalities. That was, would have been pretty serious for the business if that had happened. Just sprained wrists, broken ankles, that kind of thing. But we did have an accident, again, not a fatality, but it was a pretty serious accident in a four-wheel drive, and the business got investigated by health and safety. And one of the things they asked about was the ATVs, the quad bikes. And they said, well, shouldn't your quad bikes have roll bars? So I started doing some investigation work, and I picked up on this research that was done in the US. And the US conclusion was, if you have a roll bar, you have to restrain the operator of the vehicle, or anybody in the vehicle. If you've got more than one seat, like an ROV, you've got to have seat belts for everybody. And the reason for that is if the vehicle rolls over and you're not strapped into place, then you might exit vehicle, and then the roll bar will land potentially on you, becomes a very high pressure point, like a bull bar on a four-wheel drive when you hit a pedestrian, and it causes massive internal damage and breaks bones and all that kind of stuff. So with an ATV, if you have a roll bar, you would have to also have a seatbelt to make sure that the occupant stays in a set control position on the bike. So if it was to roll over, you would roll with the bike and you'd be hanging out your seatbelt. Now that was deemed highly likely that people wouldn't bother to wear the seatbelt, and therefore it wouldn't be any safer. In fact, it could pose more of a hazard. Instead, ATV manufacturers, also by fitting a roll bar, you're raising the center of gravity of the bike. That's just basic physics, so there's going to be more chance of it rolling over. Quite simple. Yes, you can make the bike wider, give it a bigger footprint on the ground, but still fitting a roll bar is going to increase center of gravity, and that bike, with or without the roll bar, the one without, is always going to be less likely to fall over, on hills and stuff, or even at speed. Turning a corner too fast, it's still going to throw it across and roll over on you. So it was decided by this US study that roll bars were not a good idea. Now, very recently, the Australian government, this is sort of fast forwarding 20 years now, the Australian government has now made it mandatory for roll bars on all four-wheel drive type ATVs. So not racing quads, obviously, but anything that looks like a normal four-wheel drive, even two-wheel drive ones, but like a proper farm quad, full-size ATV, not a racing one, and not kids quads either. You have to have a roll bar, and that comes into effect later this year legally. So any that are in market already, that are already being sold, and their old bikes will have to have a bar retrofitted, and any new bike sales will have to have the bar supplied. Now, from what I understand, all major ATV manufacturers said to Australian government when they put out this idea that if, first of all, they don't believe that roll bars are a solution. They pose as many hazards as they solve, problems they solve, and the underlying issue is the frame, the chassis of the quad bike is not designed for a roll bar to be fitted. Now, you may think, well, it only weighs a few kgs and the rack can carry 40 or 50. What's the problem? Well, the problem is that this roll bar obviously has a mass and it's quite high. And as you ride in the quad bike around, it actually vibrates forwards and backwards very slightly. And that creates a resonance, and that resonance is transmitted through the rack to the chassis, and maybe the rack will crack and break, maybe the chassis will crack and break. And we've seen many, many examples of this. I have firsthand in workshops around New Zealand where there's been an ATV, could be any brand, it could be Honda or a Kawasaki or whatever, it makes no difference. But it's had a roll bar on for a few years, and the frame around the rear axle area has cracked. And there seems to be a correlation. It seems to happen far more often on bikes that have got roll bars than bikes that haven't. But you might think, well, okay, that's not a problem. We'll just weld it up and off it goes again. But the point is, if the bike's not being serviced by a credible service department, then it may just be an oil and filter change where they're not going to actually wash the bike off properly and inspect the frame for fatigue and cracks. And if those cracks go unnoticed, then the frame could fail. And that, again, could potentially cause a very serious accident, especially if they're towing trailers and stuff as well. And that puts a lot more load on the frame. So all main manufacturers that currently supply Australia with ATVs and have dealer networks around Australia to supply those will no longer be selling ATVs in Australia. That's the bottom line. The government made the call. The manufacturers told the government what they would do if that became law. The government still went ahead and made it law. And now the vast majority of ATV manufacturers that sell in Australia will be pulling out and not selling ATVs any longer. And I think that's a terrible, terrible situation. What's most likely to happen, and this is my personal opinion, is somebody or people will then start to parallel import the bikes. So unofficial imports, they will mount the roll bars onto the bikes and sell them on. But there'll be obviously no warranty on those bikes, and they just won't be accountable. There won't be the same kind of support to the customer that there currently is. So the whole situation is, the whole element is just going to become a shitstorm, to be honest. It's going to become a problem. It's going to be unmonitored. There's going to be no ability to do any kind of official recalls. The manufacturers of those quad bikes never intended for them to be sold in that country. The models that are brought in may not be suitable for use in that country. There's lots of variance within models, for wherever they're going to be sold around the world, depending on altitude and all that kind of thing. There's going to be loads of problems. And I feel very sorry for the Australian people. And I think the Australian government has been extremely short-sighted. Personally, I think, as a qualified ATV instructor, which I am, highly experienced in the UK, I'm Lantra qualified, I believe it's all about training. In the UK, when we started buying quad bikes, we were given a training voucher for every quad bike we purchased, which allowed us to send all our staff off to get qualified, including myself. And we knew how to ride quad bikes safely. We knew how much we could tow with them. We were able to read the landscape and decide what was safe and not safe to ride and that kind of thing. Here in New Zealand, that kind of training doesn't really exist. Certainly not for the general public. It might be as part of an agricultural course, maybe a 3-year course that you can do. They'll show you how to drive tractors and ride ATVs and stuff, but there's no specific course for ATVs. And that's something which I'm pushing very, very hard here in New Zealand at the moment. I'm involved with that, is to try and get the government to agree a sponsored scheme, because in the UK, with that voucher, the government would pay half and the manufacturer paid half. There was no cost to the customer. It was part of, the deal in buying the quad bike. If you bought 20 quad bikes, you got 20 vouchers. You may not use all of them, but you got them. And the manufacturer and the government only had to pay when you cashed the voucher in. But it meant that a lot more people in the UK were getting trained up, and as a result, a lot less accidents. And that's proven. That's in the stats. There are less accidents on quad bikes in the UK than there are here in New Zealand. And we're talking commercial use of ATVs. There you go. Hopefully that was informative. I brought you right up to speed on that. Now, I'm going to have to scroll back up. I've been talking way too much and you guys have been firing through the comments left, right and centre. No, don't want that. No, don't do that. Hang on, I'm trying to control my laptop here. Okay, not far off. Right, so that was Barry Thomas's question, a very simple question. Am I in favour of roll bars and ATVs? Absolutely not, is my summary. Okay, the one civil man, oh my God, I'm sorry I've been forgetting your live streams and I'm late this time. Hey, don't worry about it, it's all good. We're an hour and 48 minutes in, we've just clicked over. Things are going really well. We're talking about all sorts of stuff this morning, and I think it's really important stuff. Okay, I'm not on the tools, but that's what live streams are all about. It's about me addressing your questions. And it's pretty cool that, New Zealand's a little bit different to the rest of the world in some respects. So it gives you an idea what it's like over here. Now then, Colin Ketley, Mower Sport, that sounds fun. Lawnmower racing is what I get from that. Hi, Andy. Good morning, Colin. Hope you're all good. Jason Bryan, love watching your educational videos. I haven't done very many educational ones for a while, to be honest. I need to get back on the tools and do stuff. But at the moment, I've only got time for live streams, to be honest, because the editing side of it takes way too long at the moment. I haven't got time for that. I've got a lot of jobs coming through the workshop, which need to get done. Plus, I'm away on the road quite a bit at the moment now that we're out of lockdown. Drew Dastardly, I would love to pay £30 farm road tax on my inner city Scousland, UK. I bet you would. I know. I don't think you'd last very long on the road. Although, to be fair, I will tell you something now. I did a South Island trip a few years ago with Ben, and I rode a Honda Dominator NX 650. Nice little bike, actually, I rode that all the way from Auckland. We did 4,500 kilometers around the South Island, and I rode it all the way back. And that bike was on Farm Reggio, and I never once got stopped. That was fun. We've sold the bike now, but it was fun. It was real fun. I thoroughly enjoyed riding that machine. It did have a cracked cylinder head, where idle was erratic. XR500s and stuff were all prone for it as well around that era. And we just couldn't get a new cylinder head. We couldn't even get a second-hand one that was good. Yes, we could have got it welded up, but from what I'd heard on the forums, that it doesn't last very long. They crack again. So we decided just to sell it on as it was. Put it all back together and flick it on. Done. But no, it was a good ride. I pushed that bike really hard, had a lot of fun, did a lot of gravel roads. The one Civilman, and I cannot find one of my sockets. Oh, socks, not sockets. Socks. Well, if it's a socket you can't find, it'd be a 10mm, no doubt. Your socks, I can't help you with that. You have to look under the bed. Matawix, just get farm tax and drive everywhere with a bale of hay in the boot. Exactly. And just make sure you've got a farmer's name on a piece of paper and an address and say that's where you're going. You probably get away with it. Just don't say that I said it, because I'm not going to endorse that legally. That will be entirely down to you. Now then, Dave Ski, 200 amp or 200 volts? Okay, so it's a 240 volt single phase AC supply to the MIG, and there will be a 200 amp 240 volt AC supply single phase to the workshop, which is a phenomenally high supply. That's pretty much what comes into the property to start off with. So, you know, we're going to branch it off and run the workshop. To be honest, it's highly unlikely I will ever get anything near that 200 amp limit. It was originally planned to be 100, but they sold me the wrong cable, so I've had to run 2 cables, and now essentially it's 200 amps. It's gone from 100 to 200 because the cable diameters, well, there's 2 cables, not 1. Right, it's a bit of a issue, is the power supply to the workshop at the moment. I'm working around it. Duke of the Dales, as you were in the motor industry, did you ever end up with any unusual registration plates before they became expensive? So we're talking UK now. I don't think I bought any vehicles that had essentially private plates or weird plates on them that I recognize as a weird plate. I didn't run private plates in the UK. They were too expensive to do, and I could spend my money in better areas, to be honest. You know, buying more vehicles was my and tools and advertising and paying the staff, and insurance was crazy expensive for the business. So no, I didn't. I do have a couple of private plates here in New Zealand, which are currently tucked away. They're not actually on vehicles at the moment. Maybe one day, or maybe I'll just sell them again. I don't know yet. Robert Hickey, first Holden. Soon the Aussies will be walking. Yes, Holden pulled out, didn't they? And now they won't have any they won't have any official ATVs coming in. It's a bit of a problem, and you know, when you're trying to, I hate to say this, but you know, we've seen it with cars where, you know, you go back 20 or 30 years, cars are pretty basic, and then ABS became an option, then it became on all vehicles, and now ABS will be mandatory on all motorcycles later this year, I believe. Anything over 125cc here in the UK, and so here in New Zealand, has to have ABS. I believe that's also occurred in Europe as well. We've picked up the European standard for New Zealand. Does it make the bikes any safer? Well, it depends where you ride. If you're riding on a gravel road, so let's say it's an enduro bike, or it's a trail bike or an adventure bike, and you've got ABS on it, and you're riding on gravel, the answer is no, it doesn't. The stopping distance with ABS is greatly increased on gravel because you don't get the wedge effect under the tyre. The same goes for cars as well. On the motorcycles, they've made it illegal to be able to disable the ABS. So essentially, we're still going. It just glitched out for a second then. You know, the government is saying, buy this motorcycle, you have to have ABS on it, but it's not as safe as the old one you could buy without ABS if you're riding on a gravel road. I think that puts the government in a very difficult position because there could be more accidents because of that, but time will tell. I think you should always have the ability of turning ABS off if you're going off tarmac. But they've made it illegal, so I don't know. Where did that come from? I don't know. Um, Drew Dastardly, police in the UK ride quads all the time. Send me a picture. I would love to see a cop riding an ATV. That would be fantastic. Here in New Zealand, they only allow ATVs to be registered under farm rego. However, in 2008, when I was looking at the New Zealand Land Transport website, and I have got screenshots, I've got the evidence of it, there were more categories, and one of the categories allowed you to register the bike the same way as you can in the UK, as like a private light goods vehicle, a normal car, a social, domestic and pleasure use, the same as a motorcycle. It would have been under the car category, so you use a car license. And that was the fundamental reason why I brought these two bikes over to New Zealand, which had already been registered in the UK as private light goods, you know, for social, domestic and pleasure use. I had all the documentation. I even had the factory certificates of compliance and everything. I presented it all to the government here, and their response was, "Oh, sorry, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have put that on the website." And when I went back on, they took it down. So very, very annoyed. But yeah, you can't ride a quad bike from Wellington to Auckland. It would be illegal. And that's terrible. I don't see any problems. There's no additional risk of riding a quad bike to a motorcycle, I don't believe, provided the rider is fully trained. And that's the important thing. I did thousands and thousands and thousands of miles on quad bikes on tarmac roads in the UK. I'm still here. And I also guided hundreds, if not, well, no, literally no, thousands of people as well on tarmac roads on quad bikes, and none of them hurt themselves either. It was only when they went off-road that they would hurt themselves. Matthew McCurdy, what's your view on the PD engine made by VW? I don't have a view. I'm not aware of it. Sorry. I'll have to do some more research on that. If you want to send me an email with information about that particular engine, I can have a read through and then I can give you an opinion. Simon Raw, a bit late to the party, but hi. I really thought you'd slept in there, Simon, or gone to bed early, whichever one it is. Welcome aboard, mate. It's good to have you here. Simon had a few ciders, so take me with a pinch of salt. Well, lucky you. I'm still on my original coffee, which is now cold. Oh man, it really is cold. Jeez. We are almost 2 hours in. The time this morning is flying by. Matowix, are there electric quad bikes? In New Zealand, no, I'm not aware of any electric quad bikes yet, but I can guarantee they're going to be coming to market soon. We do have electric farm bikes here, and there are also electric kids motocross bikes. I've seen those, or kids two-wheelers. I've also, a few years ago, KTM brought out an electric motocross bike. With an, you just pull one battery pack out and chuck the new one in and off you go again. I think technology is still, battery technology is still struggling a little bit to provide sufficient ride time for the competition bikes. You couldn't do an enduro on an electric motocross bike or enduro bike because it wouldn't last long enough. But it's definitely going to happen at some point, and manufacturers are very much exploring all possibilities, and this is across the range of manufacturers. I believe they're constantly researching different ways to implement or include electric power into vehicles, because some councils and so on now are asking for that kind of stuff rather than running the petrol vehicles. Do I like tractors? Yeah, of course I like tractors. I used to have a Kramer Allrad 312 SE loading shovel. I used to have a Drott. I think it was an international Drott. It was an ex-military one. And I used to have a Unimog U1000, which is sort of a tractory truck thing. Originally built for agriculture was the Unimog, but it's evolved a lot over the years. And did you know, fun fact, the Unimog now holds the record for the vehicle that's managed to attain the highest altitude. And that came through, I think about 6 months to a year ago, I read that. And it was 2 Unimogs, and they made it to the top of a mountain. And it was the highest point that any motor vehicle had ever been to, under its own steam. And that is fantastic, because I used to own one of them. and I would like to have another one. I think they're a fantastic machine. Every now and again, the New Zealand government dispose of Unimogs out of the army, and they usually go for about 20,000 New Zealand dollars at the auction. So I need to get saving up. I don't know when the next auction is going to be. They've still got quite a few. I still see them on the road when I'm driving down Desert Storm. You see them out doing training and stuff. I also looked at one of those Pinsgauers, the 6x6 Pinsgauer, but they are really expensive over here and also very, very difficult to get road legal, whereas the Unimog's much easier. Anyway, ever been sailing? Yes, I have been sailing. When I was at school, I went for a weekend in the Lake District and I sailed a mirror dinghy, which I promptly capsized and got trapped underneath, under the sail. And the only thing that kept me alive was a little air pocket trapped in the sail. I wanted to keep breathing that air until I got rescued. And from that point on, I never went sailing again. There you go. Andy Mechanic nearly died again. My leg was wrapped around a rope. That's why I couldn't get out. The one civil man, how long should I let a small 49cc quad warm up for? It should be warm within a few minutes. Depends on the ambient temperature. If it's middle of winter, it'll take longer. But it's probably a two-stroke. You know, we used to have a little LT50s and little LT50A Suzukis, and they'd be off choke within a few minutes of riding. Wasn't a problem. But yeah, it shouldn't take long to warm up. The Salamander 121. Would the likes of Polaris and Kubota ATV be more popular in Australia than quads? I'm sure they sell in fact, I've never seen a Kubota ATV. I've seen Kubota, what we call ROVs, where you sit in and it's got a roll cage and steering wheel, and they do sell those over here. There's actually quite a growing marketplace for what we call ROVs, or side-by-sides, the ones that you sit in with a steering wheel. They are becoming very, very popular now, and there's a wealth of different brands. I mean, there's the Kawasaki Mule, for example, is very popular out there. Honda have a range of ROVs as well. Unfortunately, with some brands, because it's become such a competitive market, some manufacturers have reduced their costs of production to bring down their final sale price of the vehicles. And unfortunately, that has been quite detrimental to the quality of the product. I'm not going to name any particular brands, but I'm sure you can read into it a bit more if you're interested. And that is causing those manufacturers big problems because of warranty and so on. Drew Dassedley. Surely a workshop should have three-phase. Well, a commercial workshop should have three-phase with big hoists and stuff, but this is my workshop at home. And oh, there's somebody at the door. Who could this be? Hang on. Oh, my word. Thanks, honey. Cheers. Supplies have turned up. Look at that. Let's try and make some space. I've got a fresh coffee. Right. Oh, we're going to switch to the Colin Furs mug. There we go. Look, Colin, always supporting this guy. Done a great job. Over 10 million subscribers. Warmth. Now then, where were we? Yeah, so I don't have three-phase. Whether I could even get three-phase put in here because it's in a village where I live will be extremely expensive, and I have no need for it. I can do everything single-phase without any problems. Simon, ABS on 125 was a few months back. I saw the first 125 with a CAN bus system. Came in for a front wheel speed sensor. Yep, it's getting real complicated out there. Gone are the days of your Honda CG 125s that you could fix with pretty much a toothpick and a Leatherman. Yeah, it's getting complicated. It really is. And of course, with that complexity comes cost. Things are a lot more. Motorcycles are becoming more expensive now, relatively, than they used to be. Not just to purchase, but the ongoing running costs. And you can't fix them at home. Some of the jobs now, that's got a CAN system on it. You need a scan tool and got to take it back to your dealer and all that kind of stuff. It becomes more expensive. That's the problem. Now then, Matowix, I ran my scooter low on oil to below the dipstick, but it runs okay still. Well, you were lucky, mate. You were lucky with that. So obviously a 4-stroke. Should I change the oil, and what symptoms will show if it's been damaged? Well, if it's got too low and the oil's sort of been stressed and it's got hot, because don't forget, engine oil doesn't just provide lubrication, it provides cooling to the internals of the engine. So if it gets too low, the oil's going to get too hot. And we had that actually with our RAV4. In fact, no, you saw that with the engine autopsy, where the oil level got less and less and less and less. Then the oil just burnt. It got really badly burnt and stuff. The only reason why it looked good when we looked inside is the customer had filled the engine back up with fresh oil and then driven it again home with the big end knocking. That's why it all got cleaned off. So if you'd listened to the story right at the start of that autopsy, you'd have worked out why the oil looked clean. But there was indications in the sump of all the old burnt engine oil. If the oil's got low, it probably smells a bit burnt. It's probably quite black, and it needs to be changed because its lubrication properties will have greatly been reduced. Dave Ski, does New Zealand have CF Moto quad bikes? CF Moto tried. They tried really hard to get into the motorcycle market and the ROV market. I don't believe they have any quad bikes. I'm not sure on that, but the ROVs, yes, and they were very cheap, and lots of farmers bought them once, and very quickly they broke. They were very poor parts supply. They were built terribly, and the industry very quickly decided that CF Motor was not an option. And now the dealer network that they set up is pretty much, as far as I'm aware, closed down again. You see the odd one around that's still rumbling on, but they're just crap, to be honest. Same with the motorcycles. Not happy at all with the quality. I actually repaired one that a friend of mine bought in a crate. It was damaged. The crate had been dropped, and when the crate dropped, obviously there was an impact through the crate, and it actually broke the TPS sensor. And we had to replace that, and then it was good to go. But trying to get the right TPS, and, I don't know, just everything was just cheap on the bike. Really, it felt really cheap. You have to be very careful undoing bolts and especially plastics as well. So not a fan of CF Moto. I would never repair one. Not interested. Simon, Matowix cam rattle and knocking. Yes, it would do if it got bad, but he says it still runs okay, so maybe he caught it just in time. Simon. Dave Ski, ever heard of 2-stroke diesel? Yes, I have. They're awesome. I watched a video of a guy with a 2-stroke diesel in his ute over in the States, and I think they were quite popular on plant and machinery and tractors as well for a while. And there's still a few of them out there. Again, I've never worked on one, but I do like the idea. I think they're pretty cool. Martin Patter, yes. Pat Dave Ski. Okay, oh my word, there's loads. Jim Haynes, Dave Ski, Detroit diesel unit 25 years ago were all 2-strokes, and as EMD train engines, Fairbanks Morse opposed crankshafts engines. Petter also had a fairly common one. Yeah, they were all over the place, and fascinating engines as well, real simple. Jim Haynes, have you ever seen or ridden a Rock-On Trailbreaker 2-wheel drive motorcycle? I haven't ridden one. I would like to have a go, and there have been quite a few manufacturers have delved into the trying to design a 2-wheel drive motorcycle. Great for, like, off-road hill climbs and stuff, just to give you a bit more traction. I don't really think it's a winner on the road so much, although because of hub drive technology now, we might start to see it come through on road going motorcycles. Because imagine the acceleration you get if you've got 2 wheels pulling you along the tarmac. Who knows? I'm sure that they'll be experimenting again into that kind of stuff. Even if the front wheel is only providing drive every now and again, it's going to give you more traction for forward propulsion. Could be interesting. But of course, it comes at an expense of additional weight. So who knows? The ones, in fact, going back to that as well, I've seen some that have got chain, a really elaborate chain drive. I've seen some two-wheel drive motorcycles that have got hydraulically driven front hubs. Um, I've seen one that's got a little drive shaft that runs up onto quite an intricate little joint at the steering head that then runs down the fork with a slip joint on it. It's pretty impressive what the various engineers have come up with, but it's never really taken on as far as I know. I don't think I've ever seen one in the flesh. Now then, the one civil man, do you know of any good ways to increase power on a small engine? Well, if it's a two-stroke, just skin the head and get it ported and fit a bigger carb and change the exhaust and give it a high flow air filter and hold on. There's loads. Two-stroke tuning is just easy. There's so many things that you can do, and again, just Google it. There's lots of stuff out there. As regards a four-stroke, well, it's going to be to do with your cam. You know, you got to change your valve timing, and valve opening and valve lift, and how much fuel you're getting in there. And of course, you could fit a turbo or you know, intercoolers, you know, or a blower. There's lots of different ways of doing it. And again, you know, you've got to think to yourself, well, is it worth doing? There's a lot of engineering that goes on behind it, and then you've got to retune the whole thing. You don't want it running lean at any point because it's going to cause a problem. But yeah, tuning is a whole world in itself, and it's something that I don't get too involved with. My main job is just to keep standard things running how they should run, and finding faults that way. I don't get really involved with the development and tuning of bikes. Although we did have a dyno for a while. I got involved with that, which was more seeing the end result of the tuning. And that was more to do with fuel injection and changing the mapping. Martin Patter, Detroit and Bollens engines built two strokes. Robert Hickey, or how sweet, you'd be nice to her. I'm always nice to my Mrs. Mechanic. She's a good lass. She looks after me. I mean, I've been away for 6.5 days, came home, watched the TV program with her, went to bed, and then in the morning came straight outside to the workshop to do a live stream for you guys. She's very good at putting up with not seeing very much, which maybe that tells you something. I don't know. Duke of the Dales, I bet you would love some Walker's cheese and onion crisps with that drink. Oh man, if I had a bag of Walker's cheese and onion crisps, I would save them till the evening. It would be like a treat for the end of the day once I've done all my work, and then I can savor them just one crisp at a time. Great. Jamie Clark. Evening here in the US. Been in my shop all day. Did a full service on my XR 650L. Nice bike. A 4x4 ATV and my zero-turn mower. Yeah, we've got those here. Now I'm covered in oil and grease, but I had a blast doing it. You've had your work cut out today. You get all that done. Good job. I remember driving one of those zero-turn mowers. It used to belong to one of my bosses at a motorcycle shop, and it took a bit of getting used to. It's good fun though. Great fun to drive. Matowix, it was after I changed to semi-synthetic oil. I used a lot of oil. It takes 900 milliliters and still had about 500 mil left in the sump. I think the bike still runs okay. Yeah, I mean, semi-synthetic oil and fully synthetic as well, they have a lot more additives in them. And one of those additives is designed for the oil to cling to metal surfaces. And unfortunately, some engines, if they're a little bit worn, especially, the oil clinging to the cylinder wall, it clings too well, and the piston rings struggle to scrape all of it away, and some of it ends up in your combustion chamber and gets burnt, and hence your oil level drops. You might do better just to go back to mineral if it's an older bike. I have seen that many cases of that. If you go back to mineral, she'll stop burning oil, basically. Matowix. Done that. Okay. Yeah. How long would a bike engine last running on severely low engine oil? Well, it's going to get to a point where it's critically low, and then you're going to get aeration through the oil pump of the oil, and that's when the bearings quickly will start to fail because they need a constant oil supply. And if they're getting a bit of oil, then a bit of air, a bit of oil, and the oil starts to to aerate, you know, you get bubbles of air in the oil. It's not providing the lubrication it needs to do, and it will fail. Oh, we're nearly there. RB, aren't a lot of big ship engines two-stroke diesel? I think they are, and train engines as well. I think they are. Connor K, two-stroke diesel engines are what pushes most ships across the sea. There you go. I knew Connor would know. Good man. Matterwicks, what is your video called where someone ran out of oil and refilled it? It's engine autopsy, 75,000 kilometers without an oil change. And it's my highest viewed video. It's not the best edited. Watch out for the windy gun noise. It's a bit loud in places, but very popular. And it goes through the whole autopsy of that engine step by step to find out all the components that have failed or been affected by low oil supply and the primary fail. What failed first in that engine? Pretty cool. I should do more like that. The One Civil Man, thank you for the tip of holding on. Yes. Simon Raw, you have some walkers. Oh, mate, seriously? I'm not going to be able to sleep at night now. I'm not being sarcastic either. I really do like Walker's cheese and onion. Well, thank you very much, Simon, and I will eagerly await that parcel. Did you send it to the PO box? I think you would have done, won't you? Yes, I'm sure you would have done. Duke of the Dales, did you ever get to drive or ride anything at Elverton Airfield in near York? No, all these no's. I hate saying no. I didn't, but I have been to Elvington Airfield many times. And one of our mechanics from my father's garage that I grew up with, you know, family garage, that was like third or fourth generation, he moved out there and got a job with a company that made, I believe it was space frames and did rally cars and stuff. So I went to his workshop. I was only a kid at the time, but I went to that workshop and it was absolutely amazing. So Elvington Airfield, good, cool place. And there's like a mini industrial estate there, or there used to be. And that's where he was based. Simon, yes, and beans. Oh, mate. Honestly, you're going to ask for so many favors, aren't you? I can see it coming. Ross Sainsbury, hi from the UK. Good morning, Ross. Welcome aboard. We've got 43 viewers and 42 likes, which is great. More likes than viewers. Fantastic. Now, have we got any more, or have I got to the bottom? I think I've got to the bottom, which means it's time for a cookie. Now, what did we get? Because last Sunday live stream, I didn't eat any of my cookies. And we've got some chocolate digestives, which, no, those are chocolate hobnobs, I think. Chocolate hobnob, English ones. And these, don't know what they are. Nice. I like those. They're going to get eaten up. So we're at 2 hours and 17 minutes, which is potentially a new record, I think. And it's flown by. You guys have kept me really, really busy. I only brought one thing to the table this morning, which was if you've just joined us, it's really heavy, is this thing here. And it's got a wire at the back and a plug at the front. If I show you the lid, you'll know what it's all about. It's an isolating transformer that runs input 230 volts AC and output 230 volts AC with a 50 hertz, or they call it here 50 CPS, cycles per second. And it's for safety. Basically, it's not earth to the mains, but it does isolate whatever you're using, powering the output to the input. So pretty cool. I picked that up in Wellington the other day for 25 New Zealand dollars, purely because I was interested to find out what the hell it was. And I'm sure I'll be able to use it for something in the workshop. You know, I can just power anything I want off it, basically, can't I? Just leave it running, maybe a fan or maybe a light, just for the sheer hell of having it in the circuit. Should be fun. And it's got a trip. It can cope with a supply of up to 4.4 amps. And it's got a little kill switch button, which is in the... Oh, I'll show you the kill switch. Here you go. Oh, man. Inside, little red button. You've got to take the lid off to reset it. So, in theory, it's quite... You know, it's got its own little safety cutout. you can't overheat it or can't damage it, which would be great. Good for me because I'm good at blowing things up. Simon, no favours, as I'd not put you in that position. Thanks, Simon. You're all good, mate. I was only jesting, but you know, you've been a great supporter of the channel. I really appreciate it. Always making me laugh. And a great source of knowledge as well, Simon. I'll give you that. Ross. Sorry, I've just joined. One of the tool girls back, especially Sam. Sam is extremely hard to track down. I did manage to contact her by text a few months ago. She was doing okay. She wasn't in a great place with her employment at the time. And I did offer for her to come back and do some more videos with us so she could try and get some money together. Because I do pay the tool girls to be here. It's only fair. It's a day's work for them. And at this point in time, we've not managed to set a date for her to return. But I will keep trying to get Sam back. She was a great tool girl. Really enjoyed having her around. Very professional in her mannerisms and the way she presented herself. Some people found her a little bit quiet, not very expressive physically, you know, as regards facial expressions and stuff. But the last few videos we did, she really came out of her shell and was really starting to provide the channel really what I wanted to be provided from her. So you know, it was definitely worth the time and the coaching to get her to fit or tick all the boxes of a tool girl. But then her circumstances changed and she wasn't able to continue to film. Hopefully she'll be back in, I don't know, the next few months, next few years, but I'll really keep trying to get her back because I had a lot of fun with Sam. We made a lot of videos together. Jim, what tool do you wish Teng should make but doesn't? Good point. I want to get a digital torque wrench. Now, they do make one, but it didn't have the angular rotation. You know, where you can measure the angles. A lot of cylinder head bolts now, you've got to do 90 degrees or 45 degrees and stuff. It didn't have that ability to record the angle. And it wasn't cheap, to be honest. So I held off, and hopefully one day they'll bring one out that does not just the digital torque setting, but also the angular element as well. And when they do, I will buy one for sure, because I do that quite often. And in actual fact, the cylinder head that I'm doing on the ROV requires that. So you've just got to do it by eye, basically. But I like to be slightly more precise if I can be. So I'll definitely get one of those. Duke of the Dales. It's not fair that a bag of crisps can go to New Zealand, but I can't. When we brought the quad bikes across from the UK, on the back of Ben's quad bike, he's got this little tiny box which we fitted. It's an old military box, and inside was his CB radio, because all our vehicles in the UK, all the instructor vehicles used to have CB radios in them. That's how we communicated out in the forest. And he managed to stuff 2 packets of Walker's crisps in that box before it was shipped to New Zealand, and he forgot all about it. And it was probably been in the garage 6 months before he thought, oh, I'll just check on the CB radio, see if that works. When he opened the box, he found his 2 packs of Walker's crisps, and man, they must have lasted him only a couple of minutes. He scoffed his way through those because he hadn't had Walker's crisps for, well, 6 months. He was very excited. I think he gave me 1 crisp out of one of the packets. Thanks, Ben. Now then, golly, where are we now? Nobby Noble, morning Nobby, used for isolating the neutral so as you can probe said object safely with an oscilloscope. I use one for isolating PC motherboards. Wow, that's a very comprehensive answer. Thank you very much, Nobby Noble. I'll remember that. So it actually could be quite a good asset to the workshop. I might have to use that sometime. The One Civil Man, thanks Andy, I have to go because I need to do some things. So do I. I've got an ROV outside that I've got to do an oil change, oil filter change, front diff, final drive oil changes. I've got to underseal some of the chassis, and then I've got to put all the panels back on. The panels will go back on tomorrow, but I have to get it undersealed today, so at least it's cured a bit overnight. It's just, it never ends does work, does it? There's loads to do. And I've got a deadline. Those 2 vehicles have got to go back to Auckland on Tuesday. Absolutely imperative. Well, they're going back regardless. Now then, Nobby Noble, because some instances the Earth is in contact with neutral, so it stops and isolates tests equipment from mains power objects you're testing, etc. Nobby Noble, quite a lump of copper, mate. It is, it's bloody heavy, it really is. It's about 12 kilograms for such a small box. That was one of the reasons why I got it, to be honest. It's good value for money. It's just interesting, different stuff. You don't see that kind of thing around very often. And it was very cheap. I paid 25 New Zealand dollars for it. I haven't tested it yet, though. Hopefully it'll work. It should do. The guy said it worked. Simon, anyway, have you used them oil filter pliers much? Yes, I have. I use them quite regularly. And hang on, I'll go and get them. Now, Simon, Mr. Raw, was very, very helpful and very kind as well. He sent me through these. Now, they're very slim and they're really good for getting in, you know, when you've got a real tight oil filter and it's tight, not tight as in done up tight, but tight to get to. You can just snick up the side and use these. And I have quite a range of different kind of oil removing devices depending on the position of the oil filter and what space is available to get around them. And these have been a really good addition to my kit. And these are a Blue Point made in the USA. Yeah, is it going to focus for you? It might do. Hang on, let's see if we can get Mr. Focus to focus. There you go. Look, there's the part number. And there's been one or two where I've really had to clamp very, very hard. And I thought, well, I don't want to break them. But they've actually stood up very, very well. And I'm really impressed. So you've asked me what Teng should make. Teng, you need to make some of these because they're really, really good. And it's a CHN-209 is the part number. And it's made by Blue Point. There you go. Thanks, Simon. Do appreciate it. And if you have any tools that you're aware of that you think could be of benefit to me, then let me know on an email. And if I want them, I'll maybe send you some money across, and then you can ship them out to me. And then that way, I can increase my range, and certainly happy to test them as well and see how I get on with them. Give the rest of the viewers some kind of feedback. Nobby Noble. So once you plug in the isolator, the item which is powered up is especially neutrally isolated. So then you can probe said device with an oscilloscope without your super expensive oscilloscope up, without blowing it up, basically. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I've got the Pico, so I will give that a go. Definitely worth a try. Mars Walker Pilot. Hi there from Scotland. Good morning, Mars Walker Pilot. Good to have you on board. Nobby Noble, blowing up. There we go. I knew that's what he meant. I don't want to blow my scope up. They're way too expensive. Termit 520. I really miss your workshop girls, Andy. You're not the only one, and I am right in the thick of planning some more filming with some of the tool girls and really trying very hard, and it seems to be extremely difficult at the moment, to try and get a new tool girl on board. I had two lined up, one of which turned out she hasn't got any transport, and she's up in Auckland, and I'm not in Auckland anymore, so that's a problem. And the other tool girl, potential tool girl, I offered her the job. We discussed the initial filming date, which is a week on Sunday, so 2 weeks from today. And we were all good to go. And then she discussed it with her partner, and her partner turned out not to be very happy in having her as a tool girl on the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. And she pulled out. So I sent her a text last night and I said, look, can you just tell me why? What's your concern? What's your partner worried about? But I didn't get a reply. So I am actively trying, and it does take a very special kind of, assistant, call them what you like, to do the Andy Mechanic tool girl role. It's quite demanding. It's grubby, a bit of traveling involved now. And of course, at the end of the day, they become very publicly known. The YouTube channel gets a lot of viewers, and there's a lot of posts through social media as well. And some viewers, unfortunately, do not like the tool girl assistants. Now, the covenant here is they only appear in a few videos, not in all videos. So if you don't like a video with a tool girl in, you don't have to watch it. That's my opinion. But I've had quite a few people unsubscribe to the channel because they don't like the tool girls. And I've had lots of people subscribe to the channel because they do like the tool girls. The bottom line is I can't please everybody. And I do try to keep just create a few videos every now and again with Tool Girls. It's not the main part of the channel. It's fun and it's nice to have them around. I'm sure you know what I mean. Now then, Mars Walker Pilot. I am off to finish the rebuild of my Honda FL400 Pilot. What the hell's that? Is that a Honda Pilot buggy? Let's have a look. Images. Honda FL400 Pilot. Yes, it is a Honda Pilot. What a bloke. They are awesome. I'd love to have one of those. Absolutely amazing machines. I don't believe they make them anymore, but no, fantastic piece of kit. You really must send me some pictures of it via email if you can. And I might even, if you're okay, if you give me permission in the email, I can share those pictures on the Instagram page, because it's really good to hear what you, the viewers, are up to. I find it really interesting, to be honest. Duke of the Dales, I discovered your channel because I wanted to change oil on my 640 Duke. You have a great video showing exactly that with Tool Girl Harley. I've watched it 100 times and still don't know how to change the oil. I'm hearing you, mate. Honestly, Tool Girl Harley was fantastic. I really enjoyed that day's filming with her. We only had her in the workshop for one day. We managed to do 2 videos. Had so much fun. She was great on camera, real bubbly, and definitely kept me on my toes. Editing that video was a nightmare. It took me ages. Simon, Snap-on Bex 13 are a good set to have. Bex or Hex? I'll have to Google that. Mars Walker Pilot, the buggy. It is. I found the pictures. Mars Walker Pilot. Only driven for 18 days. Oh man, that's going to be worth a fortune. Keep hold of that. If you ever get bored of it, put it in a big box and send it to New Zealand, and I'll take good care of it forever. Mars Walker Pilot. My brother has a brand new one, never started in a showcase. Oh, mate, that's fantastic. Somebody, well, I'm sure there's a company out there that builds a replica Honda Pilot, but to have the original and one that has never been used as well, what a collector item. Car Guy 72, being a middle-aged petrol head, I started watching this channel a few years ago to expand my diagnostic skills. Tool Girls are just a welcome bonus. Exactly, that is the point. Just a bit of fun, and even with the different outfits and stuff that I design up for them and they wear, it's just for fun. That's all it is. You know, one ex-subscriber messaged me and said, look, I've unsubscribed. I find that the channel's getting a bit seedy. And, I was watching, dare I say it, I was watching Dynasty last night, the new version of Dynasty. And, well, Fallon, Fallon, the daughter of Blake, well, she wears some pretty revealing outfits. A lot more revealing than what the Tool Girls wear. But that's on primetime TV. I mean, come on, people. You complain about having a Tool Girl here wearing a pair of high heels and a work shirt and a pair of short shorts. That's nothing. The internet is full of much more explicit imagery than what we have on the channel. And besides, I have to adhere very, very strictly to YouTube's requirements and their rules. And if they felt for 1 minute that I was in breach, they would soon let me know and I'd have to make some changes. So I think it's a bit short-sighted, really, for a subscriber to unsubscribe because of a Tool Girl or an outfit that they wear. But at the end of the day, that's entirely their choice. And the bottom line is the channel is growing very quickly. I'm very happy the way things are. And the channel has a great future ahead of it. And the Tool Girls are definitely a part of that. It might be a subsector, of viewers, but it's a part that I enjoy. I like having a bit of company in the workshop now and again. Don't take that away from me. Simon, I'll send you them in an email. Please do, Simon. Thank you for that. Now then, John Tyson, you also have to adhere to Mrs. Mechanic requirements. I do. We only had a meeting this morning before the live stream went out, or before the live stream started, should I say. about the Tool Girls. And you know, I just recently designed a new a safety bikini, as Connor will call it, for the Tool Girls for when it's extremely hot here in the workshop. And it does get very hot in the summertime here in New Zealand. We can get up to, you know, the 40 degrees Celsius, and that's outside, and with the sun baking down the roof and the doors, it really is an environment that needs air conditioning for filming and so on. But I can't afford that at the moment. The roof needs to be replaced and get some insulated roofing put on. I've got some insulation to do on the walls. I might reclad the outside rather than mess around with the inside. Once all that's in place, I can really accurately control the working environment. But until then, the girls need to be comfortable and safe. Hence, a safety bikini. Very, very important. You know where I'm going with this. Duke of the Dales, thanks for a great live stream. Andy, gotta go. Cheers. Cheers all. Have a great week. Cheers, Duke of the Dales. Thanks for being on board. We've got 45 viewers, which is quite a lot more than what we normally get, to be honest. Normally it's around about 35. I know it's not many, but you know, post live stream, it takes a few hours for YouTube to process the video. And then within a couple of days, there's over 1,000 views on usually one of my live streams, which I'm really happy about. You know, people do watch them, and we do talk about all sorts of different stuff, things that I would never normally talk about in a video, a normal video. So it's point of difference, and it gets you to, I don't know, see the broader Andy Mechanic opinions and how I operate and how my life's going, to be honest. And I get to hear about you guys and what you're up to, which is really, really good. Nobby Noble, is your picture of that poor girl who's had the breast accident still up? And has she taken her plasters off yet? I don't know, hang on. Yes, it's still the May girl from Forge. And she still had an accident and the plaster's still in place. I'm going to have to change it to June because we're in June now, aren't we? And I've been away during the transition from May to June. So later on today, we'll have to crack open the... geez, shouldn't use that kind of terminology. I should turn the page on the calendar to the June Forge girl. And maybe she's had an accident as well and I'll need to apply some plasters. I don't know yet. I'm sure you'll see that in the future. Okay, crew. Oh, Nobby Noble. Don't reuse the plasters on June though. No, I won't. I've got a whole roll of red plaster and I'll be cutting some new ones for the June girl for sure. John Tyson, come on. Live unveiling. No way. No, I can't. If I pull that and there's exposure, YouTube will get very, very upset. I can't do that. Hence the reason for the plasters. But I did promise Jared up at Forge when he gave me the calendar. He says, mate, you're not going to put this on your channel. You have to cover it up every time. But I said, nah, I'll come up with a way because I want your calendar to be in my workshop. So, oh my word, we've got a new viewer and we're just about to sign off. De papier flinginaire, I think. I can't pronounce it. I'm sure you know what it says. What did I miss? Well, you missed everything. I'm just about to sign off and munch some more biscuits and have some more semi-warm coffee. And then get to work because I've got a lot to get done today. Oh, big smile. Simon, what's your thoughts on OBD adapters from bike to car scan tools? From what I've seen, they use K-line or CAN. I was looking at one the other day, actually. It's a genuine manufacturer's sub-lead that works with the manufacturer's scan tool. So obviously, you know, it works. But yeah, OBD2, on the bikes, it appears that it's just CAN high, CAN low, battery positive, battery negative, as the 4 wires. Essentially just a different plug, so we can plug into a new red plug on the bike. And that's become mandatory in Europe, and now we have to have them over here. Thoughts on adapters? I don't have any yet, Simon. I'm sorry, I've not really come across any, but there is a guy that I work with now and again called Jordan, if he's watching. Hi, Jordan. He's over in Napier, and he has an aftermarket motorcycle scan tool, and he will have the adapters. So I will mention it to him when I see him, and I'll try and get some feedback from Jordan because he will have used it on a range of different brands of bikes. That workshop gets all makes and models of bikes through. So he's a really good resource to get feedback on that kind of issue. So I will ask him, Simon, and I'll report back. Ask me the question again in 2 or 3 months' time. Make a note because I'll forget, and I'll try and dig into the back of my memory and I'll tell you what he said. Now then, God, they keep coming. Mars Walker Pilot claim it's a naturist channel. You're a funny guy. I don't think they'll buy that. De Papier, I'm going to call you De Papier, or well, we'll rewatch. Yeah, I am sorry, mate. I've got to sign off. This is by far the longest live stream I've ever done at 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's mental. Carguy72, take it easy, Andy, and have a great day. See you next week. Thanks, Carguy72. I do really appreciate that. I'm going to do, while you're all here, before you all sign off, don't forget, if you haven't yet, and obviously I know some of you haven't, you can go on to www.zazzle.co.nz and just search Andy Mechanic YouTube. You'll find my online shop for the Andy Mechanic mugs. That's another way you can show your support for the channel. And if you purchase a mug, and there's lots of different designs and stuff that you can put my logo onto your chosen mug. There's the thermos type ones that keep your coffee and tea nice and hot for ages, the big tall ones, and then there's the pot ones as well for at home. There's also Tool Girl leggings. We've yet to sell a pair of Tool Girl leggings, so if you've got a partner that you'd like to have as your own tool girl in your workshop, then maybe it'd be a great Christmas present to get a pair of those. The shirts, however, are available through Uniform NZ down in Invercargill. You'll have to go onto their website and order that separately. However, bear in mind the ones that the tool girls wear here are cropped. I have them cropped up in Auckland, but you could get that done locally to make them match. If you buy any Andy Mechanic merchandise, then please do, once it arrives, send me through a photo or a selfie, whatever you like, in a workshop environment or in front of your car with a bonnet up, so it's got some kind of automotive theme to it. Tell me all about what project you're up with at the moment, and I'll not only post that on my Instagram and on Facebook and just, you know, put it out to the viewers and give them an idea of what you're up to, but I'll also put you into a draw, which I'm going to draw in December for anybody that's done this, and you're going to win an Andy Mechanic pack, and in that will be a 1/4" drive Teng Tools socket set that I've paid for. Teng didn't sponsor that. I actually bought it for myself, and I haven't used it for about a year, so it's still in its packaging, and I think it's only fair to pass it on to somebody that will use it. I bought it originally for my field toolkit, but my toolbox is so full I can't fit it in, so I have to just put up with using 3/8 drive. I'll also put in there some other Andy Mechanic merch as well for the winner. And, well, good luck. You know, don't forget, go on to www.zazzle.co.uk or zazzle.com. It makes no difference. They're both the same. Do a search, Andy Mechanic YouTube, and you'll see the online shop, and you can order whatever you like. Go for it. And then send me a selfie with, oh, that's the Colin Furs mug. Look, there's Colin Furs. If you haven't watched Colin Furs' videos, do watch them. They're really funny. Andy Mechanic mugs. Send me your picture with the mug or whatever it is that you buy and show your support, and you'll be in the competition and you can win some goodies. And of course, you'll have a great mug to use as well. Okay, crew. Well, these biscuits are looking really, really tempting. I'm going to have to sign off. Quick rundown of the comments before we go. De Papier, yes, you see, I'm from Germany and it's kind of the middle of the night here. I am sorry, I can't do live streams at any time. It's always going to be, you know, a bad time for some people around the world. Simon, thanks, Andy. Be good to know before I spend any money. No worries, Simon. I will. Next time I speak to him on the phone, I'll even ask him then for you. Mars Walker Pilot, thanks for the fun, Andy, and I will mail you a few pics of the rebuild of the buggy. Please do. I'm really interested. I'd love to buy one of those one day. 56 Crown Vic. Are you going to do another Lego build? I am, most definitely. That was a lot of fun, and I want to get a couple of tool girls in. I know Holly is definitely up for it. Lily, I was trying to pin down. It's something we can do at a pub, if not in the workshop, and we can do a tool girl versus tool girl head-to-head on a Lego build. It's so much fun, and I can ask the questions. Remember, we used Top Gear questions out of a game that I have, and it worked out pretty well. So we could do that. But no, I haven't forgotten. Really looking forward to doing that. But at the moment, you know, with all the COVID stuff going on, it's very difficult to do anything like that outside the workshop. And to get 2 tool girls down here on the same day is extremely expensive, unfortunately. I would be very poor for many months to come. So hold that thought. Mike Smith, have you ever heard of a BMW diesel? Oh, not BMW. No, I haven't. Sorry, Mike. You'll have to tell me more about that on email. Dear Papier, thanks for the good work, though. Love watching your videos. Well, thank you very much, matey. I really appreciate that. And I think one more has just come through. Yes, Ashley Halls. First time I've seen your channel. After just watching a brilliant video of stripping down a CV joint, that's my Sunday sorted now. Excellent. Good job, matey. And thanks for just dropping in on the last second there, Ashley. But I am going to have to sign off now. So for all of you that are still here, that have made the whole 2 hours and, oh man, 45-minute live stream, which is ridiculous. Thank you very much. For those of you that just dropped in or dropped in and dropped out, great to have you on board. And I will see you all again for another live stream next Sunday. There's a slim chance I might be releasing a video during the week as well. Okay, crew. Well, until next time, I'll see you around. Cheers. See you, Robert. Over and out.